actually unveiling this? Are we going, we're each doing 10, 9, 8, and then we come back?
No. Well, we'll see how long it goes.
You want to do all top 10 in one segment and then just go?
We'll see how it goes. We're making this up as we go. We don't know how long it's going to go.
We'll need some more time than
he has plans to leave.
We'll figure it out, okay?
I
got to poop. I just went over. I got to poop. I got to poop. So here's what I wanted to start with. What is the criteria for your top 10?
Career longevity, success, established success, right? Like
team
all-star
or individual?
games.
So individual
success has to matter. Team success is important, although I find that we punish guys for not having maybe the ultimate team success, but still team success nonetheless.
Yes.
Records, where your standing is all the time. And for me, like I think the tough thing is there's probably an era of basketball I don't have on this. So I'm calling this my Bill Chamberlain all-time top 10. This is an homage to those are two guys that easily should be on the list.
The Finals MVP award that we're giving away for our top 10.
The eras are tough.
Yeah.
I didn't there's some guys I didn't grow up watching, but like I didn't get to watch any of it. All of it's black and white. Like it's just tough for me. So I'm going to call it my Bill Chamberlain top 10.
Okay.
And then also the impact culturally you had on the sport. So like if you're doing like a top 30, probably going to put Iverson on there, as ridiculous as that is to most people, because I just think the cultural impact of Allen Iverson was massive.
He was massive.
Oh, yeah.
Big deal.
You can't deny that. And I would, if we extended this out to 25 or whatever, Iverson.
You're going to start to get into those zones, right?
Right into that
12-hour
zone.
show. We're bumping Danny and Dusty now. We're going to go all day, baby. I'm not going home.
So
that's interesting criteria. What was your criteria?
I started looking at just the names that popped off them, and when I think, what is the NBA? Who in the history of the NBA can you not tell it without them being a part of it?
Yeah, that's exactly how I view it.
And I wrote down the first 10, 15 names that I came to. I was like, all right, here's the pool.
Yes.
Then I dove in and went in and looked at stats and accomplishments. For me, more than just the statistical sorts of things, team success and longevity ended up playing a much larger role for me and moving guys around that I didn't think would be in certain spots.
So you're a ring counter. Swag's a bit of a ring counter.
Yes.
What about clutch gene? Did you go through your clutch genes?
What about killer instinct? Does he have a killer instinct?
Unfortunately, all my genes are a little too clutchy these days. But and then the other piece was, did you in some fashion revolutionize the NBA?
Did you make an impact
during your career? Was the game played differently, or was it strategized differently? Did the league start to change how they officiated things, change rules, whatever the case may be, because of how you played, and it was so unique that they had to address it?
Okay, that's a fair way to do it.
Now, what did you do? Because your list is going to be the funniest. Not the funniest isn't like it's not that it's not a legit
Rod
top 10.
Strickland, Damon Stoudemire, Arvydas Sabonis, and Brian Grant.
But
are
you
all
were
in my
like,
top 10.
I'm flying off the seat of my pants.
I thought it was going to be the all under 6 foot list.
Hey, look, I will say that is a part of my criteria.
Isaiah Thomas.
Part of my criteria on it. No, I mean, it was like I tried to balance, because I have a hard time with the NBA. It's unique this way where guys can dominate purely based on the traits that they were born with.
Yeah.
And how do you compare that? Like, let's use two examples here. How do you compare Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Allen Iverson?
Right.
A guy who's barely 6 foot tall. Who did Allen Iverson ever play with another All-Star his entire career?
Dikembe.
Was he an All-Star that year in Philly? That was old Dikembe.
I think he won Depoy.
Okay,
the year
so
they went to the
he's a good defensive
finals.
player, but you know
what
I'm saying.
Let me look that up, but I think he won Depoy that year.
I'm just saying, when you look at the guys who they played with, the size, all of the other intangibles that go with it, that's a very challenging thing to do because it's such a different game, and I could just dominate with a sky hook because I'm taller than you and you can't block my shot, and one guy's 6 foot and he has to go to the hoop. So the size was a bit of a for me, but I think this is, again, the hard part with top 10s is I'm curious how many different names we have.
Yeah, Dikembe was an all-star.
He was an all-star, okay. And how many different names that we have, and then my criteria is really not that different. It's individual success. It's how much you impacted and changed the game. And then also, if you didn't experience the team success that others did, were you a part of it, or was that something that you had no control over?
Right.
Like, we're coming off a Damian Lillard era where he never got a legitimate chance to win.
Yeah.
Now, he's not a top 10 player, but just to use as an example, like his organization failed him, that shouldn't be held against him in the ring count. He can't be this or that. So that was part of it for me. I'm curious where Swag has a surprising number 1 overall player.
That's what he says. He maintains this.
It won't be. I think it'll be surprising from you that I put this player number 1.
Oh,
It's certainly
okay. It's a different
not,
way to say it then. Okay.
Yeah, not
right.
that player is number 1.
We were taking bets behind the scenes of who your number 1 player was going to be.
Well,
so yeah.
Can we just establish, though, before we get into this and people get mad because they hate whatever we have at whatever number?
Who's your top
That's going to be the funniest part, and why we're doing this and then not being in the studio.
I'll pull up the text line. We're sitting on the 6th hole right now at Langdon Farms. I'll pull up the text line to see how angry people are.
Yeah, people are going to start hating individuals on this show because of this list.
It's technically a live show, but it's recorded, but it's live on the air for the first time.
It's new content.
It's new content.
It is new
That
content.
it is.
I will always, to my grave, I will believe the NBA is a field of goats.
Yes.
Number 1 to me is not even like,
What's up,
well,
Tubbs?
number 2 can't be the best basketball player.
Exactly.
It's my own personal metric, but they're all field of goats.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's just maybe one goat that eats more of
There's
the weeds.
one that
And
eats
if
a little
any
bit
of
more.
them would
Has a
have
bigger
been in a
appetite.
Blazer uniform, I would probably own that Blazer uniform.
Oh, no Bill or Clyde.
Oh.
I do have a couple
No
names.
Blazers in the top
Where are we
10.
at time-wise?
We're at just almost 10 minutes here.
So I would say this before we get into it.
Okay.
Once I wrote my names down, I had to then do the initial, okay, probably not if I'm being logical. And I have a list of guys that don't make mine.
Should we start with our near-miss list? The
My-
guys who are just, say, outside of
Yes.
the top
Yeah,
10?
we can do that.
And then we can get into the
Yes.
top 10s? Okay, how about we
I can do
this?
it quick.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Why don't we put a bow on this first segment?
Okay, we'll do that.
Why don't we put a bow on the first segment? I'm going to go pour myself another cocktail at the 6th hole at Langdon Farms.
I like that.
Where all the listeners are going to be hanging out with us today. It's the Fan Golf Classic. We're doing this special show for the Fan Golf Classic. We'll have some pre-recorded content a little bit later on as the NBA draft is tomorrow, guys. Don't you know? What are the Blazers going to do tomorrow? Can you believe the NBA Finals is over? That end of the NBA Finals is absolutely bonkers. We got a lot still to get to. Let's start with our near-miss list of our top 10s. That'll be the opening segment. Well, second segment, but that was our opener. Segment number 1 coming up next on The Fan.
Check out the Fan Merch Locker. 1080, The Fan.
All right, welcome in live out at Langdon Farms. Not really, but kind of. Dirt and Sprague here with a special live, recorded/live edition of our top 10 greatest players in NBA history. We went through in the last segment why we did this, what we came up with. We all have our definitive list, but as we close the last segment, Sprague was mentioning, and I think we all have this, right? When you come up with your list, we all compiled a list of names, and you're like, all right, who's going to officially be in the top 10? But then you have names that are just on the outside looking in, the just outside top 10 list. So I'll let you start, Sprague, of You're very close to the top 10, but not quite inside the top 10.
Yeah, I think it's tough, man, because outside of the top 10 is just like all-time great stuff. I really struggle with eras. It's really hard. Like Bill Russell, I saw a stat before we recorded this that like of the 17 years of team organized basketball that Bill Russell could have played, he won the title in 14 of them.
That's pretty good.
That's unbelievable.
Pretty
He's
good.
the ultimate winner in the sport. He represents the ring movement, all that, the culture, all of it. So that's why it's the Bill Chamberlain. Chamberlain also not in my top 10, but I want to give respect to him because his numbers were insane on and off the court, if you know what I'm saying.
Can anybody explain to me how, and maybe there's a theory behind this or something I'm missing as a young in this conversation, I was looking at Wilt Chamberlain numbers. He had years where he averaged like 50 and 25.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he wasn't first-team All-NBA.
I know.
Well, I think it just was like,
Well, that was
this
the
is
starting
unfair.
five for the Celtics.
Yeah, it really was.
Like 50 and 20. How is what?
You know, his 100
Seriously, he
point
didn't
game.
win MVPs, like 50 and
I
27
know.
a game.
It's absurd.
Not to get too deep into conspiracy, his 100-point game has kind of been brought up recently of like,
Well, yeah.
did it really
Did it
happen?
really happen?
Oh, AI generated 100% games.
I
You're
just
telling
like-
me? Moon landing, not real?
They've been hard to find evidence of it actually
Yeah.
him scoring 100 points, but that's neither here nor there. So
Okay.
I'll run through it real quick. So
We'll go
everybody
through
can
our near top 10s.
Jokic has to be in this.
Yes.
I know he's got the one ring, but like you cannot be what he has been so far and not even be in consideration. He is absolutely here, and there's a good chance in 2 or 3 years he's in this list, okay? Giannis is also this for me. Now, this is partial bias. I will fully admit this. I think he's all-time talent. I think he's one of the freakiest players to ever exist that play basketball.
He gets freaky at night.
But I also think he's a great leader, a great franchise player. He gave a team that hadn't won a title since Kareem had played for it a title, which is crazy. And I also, admittedly, this is where the bias comes in. I read his book. His story is unbelievable. It is the ultimate immigrant story that you could possibly know in the NBA. Dirk is just barely on the outside for me. He actually, Dirk was a tough one.
Yeah.
I wanted to give him more, got an MVP. Dallas was nothing but successful with him. Got to 2 finals, won
the title.
beat a huge team. Like, that was a big deal. Jason Kidd, another name for me. One of the best all-time assist guys. Took New Jersey Nets teams to the NBA Finals as a point guard in the era of the big man, mind you. Another one, KD. Like, we can think what we want about KD and the ring hopping stuff. Like, that's fine. He is a certifiable top whatever 3-4 bucket getter in league history. There's no debating that for me. Kevin Garnett was another one. Really tough. His team success didn't ultimately pan out in Minnesota, but that's not also Kevin Garnett's full fault. So that was tough. I was glad he got the ring. Dr. J this is maybe the hardest because Dr. J, when you say how do you tell the story of the league with a name, I mean, the ABA-NBA merger and getting to the finals and, like, just his entire career. I don't know how you tell the story of basketball without Dr. J.
There's no dunk contest without Dr. J.
No, there's
The
not.
afro, like, all of it. So Dr. J is not, and
Yeah.
I have no faults with anybody that puts him in it for a lot of historic reasons.
The up and under layup might be one of the most iconic highlights in the history of the league.
He's never going to make anybody's list because he had playoff failure after playoff failure, but his stats actually put him in it. Karl Malone. Just from a stats perspective and team success, Utah was irrelevant.
Do we consider off the court antics in our top 10 list?
He's never going to be my top 10. I also hate the Jazz.
Yeah, who doesn't?
And Isaiah Thomas.
Well, that's the one that'll never be.
Yeah.
I think
well,
he's the most despicable person ever in the NBA. But
He's pretty bad.
We don't have to I don't disagree with you on some of that stuff.
Now, did you take that into consideration in your top 10? Despicableness?
Yeah, did
Did character issues arise in your top 10?
That's a good question.
no.
No. Okay.
Isaiah was out. He wouldn't have cracked it, but
Sure. But the
He got
reason was not because
very
of
little consideration. Most of those all under consideration.
Yeah.
I would add, and maybe, and this is one where if you go back and look at the stats and the accolades and stuff, Moses Malone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
and then you have Barkley, and to go with Karl Malone, John Stockton. I mean,
Stockton was tough for me. I didn't
Stockton's
know how to,
on my
I don't know how
near-miss
to
list, too.
gauge Stockton.
in the
I mean, to
era-
lead the league in steals multiple times, the
steals
assist
and
numbers,
assists, and that's when
assists.
he was
The
going
assist
against
one's
Magic,
crazy.
and it's insane.
Will anybody ever touch, like, those are some of those numbers that you're just like, that's
the assist
seems
one's tough.
unreachable
Yeah, the assist one will be tough because he played for so long.
And there were like 6 years in a row where it was like 13, 14 assists a game. And he missed, I was looking up his numbers too because he's on my near-miss list. From like a 13-year stretch, he missed a total of 4 games.
Yeah, he played every day.
So
every game.
Chris Paul just played a full season
Bananas.
at his age. I think he's 39 or 40.
Yeah.
Which is, everybody noted how crazy that is. Chris Paul, whose basic primary function as a player was assists.
For what, 15, 17? How long has he been in the league?
He
Forever.
is 3,400 away from Stockton.
That's
He's
legitimately
not
one of
gonna
those
catch him.
numbers that I don't know
If anybody will catch him.
if anybody
Yeah.
will ever get there.
Yeah.
It's kind of the baseball thing with, like, certain batting averages and hits because, guys, it's just a different game.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't still guys with high assist numbers, but
Well,
it's just not the same.
I think if this era continues of a lot of threes and more pace and up and down, where if I'm coming down on the break and I just flip it to a guy and they're
he's
hot and they're
shooting and
shooting
making it,
threes, I think we've seen Westbrook with double-digit assists.
He's
and his
8th all time
triple-double.
on that leaderboard.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in this next generation where somebody comes in and they get a lot of free assists because you're got
Guys are
shooters,
knocking down shots.
shooters all around you,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And Akeem did not make. Akeem was just outside.
I'm fascinated to see your top 10 now.
So yeah, he's maybe my favorite non-Blazer basketball NBA player of all time.
Closest should have been Blazer.
I
flip.
know, a coin flip. Let's not revisit
Honk
that.
once, honk twice. Are we going to do that again for the draft? That kind of sounds like fun. So I'm looking at my near misses. There's not many names. So I had Stockton on my near miss list for the. I mean, just remarkable. What he did is to be like an undersized white point guard and
From
do what he did
Gonzaga.
from Gonzaga,
Yeah.
like for 30
Before
years.
they were Gonzaga.
Insane, right? Like, he was incredible. I also had Kevin Durant on my near miss. I think you can make an argument Kevin Durant's the best offensive player in the history of the league.
Yeah, certainly.
I just, from his size, his skill set, there's never really
like you said,
seen anybody that
if
can
you
do
need
that.
a bucket,
Who are you picking over him, right? Just,
I mean, Team USA went to him.
Yes, the Warriors, when they had Steph, went to him. He
Yeah.
was the best player on those teams, right? So Kevin Durant's on my near-miss list. The only other two that didn't get named, so this would be telling who our top 10s are. I also had Akeem just on the outside looking in. The other two names that I did not have inside my top 10 are Kobe Bryant. I did not have Kobe inside the top 10.
I can't wait to see your top 10.
And Steph Curry was not in my top 10.
Oh,
Okay.
you gotta be.
I gotta die on that hill. I can't do all that for years and then do this show and then roll over and put him in my top 10. Steph Curry, greatest shooter. Nobody debates it. He will go down as, I don't know if anybody will ever touch him in the level of threes and the volume that he made them at. But I tried to, parcel out the well-roundedness of a player and not just one overall strength. And so that was the only reason that Steph Curry was not inside my top 10, but I had him 12th overall. I don't think that's super disrespectful. And then, as I mentioned, Kobe Bryant, who I think was an incredible player, an incredible leader, won a ton of championships. There's no question about it. A high-volume guy, a good defensive player. He's just outside the top 10. So that's a hard part with these lists, too, is that when you say somebody's not top 10, it almost feels disrespectful. And people are like, how do you – it's like, well, I have him 11th overall.
thousands of players have played in the NBA.
I don't think it's rude to say you're the 12th best player in the history of the league.
I would cry.
We just put a top 10, that's like the line and the demarcation line that you have that, just didn't quite cut it. So those are the near misses for our top 10s. We're almost done with our second segment here.
Yes.
Who would like to go first on their top 10 list? Do we have somebody? Do we want to draw straws? Do we want to magic hat this?
No, I can
put
start
a
it.
name in a hat.
I can start it.
Okay, so Brandon Sprague. Hold
yeah.
on.
Okay.
In the next segment,
Oh.
we will begin unveiling our top 10 greatest NBA players of all time. How many hole-in-ones do I have at this point? You think 3 by now?
I think I'm going to get more than you.
Hanging out?
I think I have more than you right now. And it's
About playing.
driving
What do we think
crazy.
it's going to play? 110? What do we think that whole spot?
Well, I think I'm going to have it up closer.
We think a close front pin
I
today?
think it's going to be like 102.
Swag, what's the
102.
funniest scenario in play here? He gets a hole-in-one that doesn't count.
That's going to actually be really depressing.
Or he gets near misses, and I somehow get lucky and get another
Yeah,
one.
you knocking one in,
I actually, that
and
would
he
suck.
ends up with things rolling up,
Me-
kick in range.
There is an idea of me getting a hole-in-one that's going to be depressing. Because it'll be cool.
It won't
But it won't
count.
be
but it won't
official.
count. It's not
Yeah.
an official
I don't think
home
you
run.
want this to happen.
I don't know if I do either.
Yeah, you should want this
I hope
to
I'm just
happen.
flirting with it. Get me inside the hula hoop all day so I
Yeah.
know I'm on.
And
My
then
game
it's like,
style.
damn, that's a stick.
God, that could have been in,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I want a
Like
hole
just
in one.
peeling them off like 4 or 5, and
Yes.
they're rolling up 6 inches there. It's like I got this whole nailed.
Well, as we were talking about on our show last Wednesday, it's like the idea of a college baseball offense. You only get so many of those in your life. You don't
Right.
want to use one of them up and around that doesn't
Right.
count. There's
Yes.
only so much magic in this bag. So we're hanging out. It's a Fan Golf Classic, a live show, recorded show, live show, having fun. The top 10s officially begin to be unveiled next on The Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, Drew Holiday is a Trailblazer once again. This time he'll likely play his first game in a Portland uniform. Shams Charania reporting the Blazers are sending Anthony Simons and a pair of second-round picks to Boston in exchange for the 35-year-old 3-and-D player who has 2 years and $72 million left on his current contract plus a player option. That move frees up the logjam in the backcourt. Scoot Henderson now the incumbent at point guard. Portland also holds the number 11 pick in tomorrow night's NBA draft. Elsewhere around the NBA, ESPN reports the Mavericks and center Daniel Gafford have agreed on a 3-year, $60 million contract extension, while Chris Middleton has exercised his $33.3 million player option for next season with the Wizards. Cal Raleigh hit his league-leading 32nd home run in Minnesota Monday to cap off an 11-2 Mariners rout of the Twins. That opens up a 4-game series there. Game 2 this afternoon, 4:40 first pitch on Root Sports. And the University of Oregon Board of Trustees has approved a 3-year contract extension for athletic director Rob Mullins. He'll be in Eugene through 2033. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt, missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
More, please. Golf Fan.
All right, welcome back in for the Fan Golf Classic recorded live show of our 10 greatest players in NBA history. We've gone over our criteria and what we use to compile our top 10. We've gone over our near misses. And now, without further ado, we begin to unveil the top 10 greatest players in the history of the NBA, according to Brandon Sprague.
So I'll start at number 10 here. Now, I need to say this before I name who it is. I once on the air said, not in my top 10. And, part of the story changes the opinion, but also just in looking back, you got to be really honest about this stuff. And so even if you didn't root for the person, you got to evaluate this. And if going off all the criteria I named, I don't know how Kobe's not a top 10 player. Kobe Bryant is my number 10. Now, there's an insane part of the internet that tries to say he's the second or he's the third best player. And, I watched him play. 5-time NBA champ, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, 4th all-time leading scorer, 15-time All-NBA, a league MVP, 2-time scoring champ, and 12 times on the All-Defensive team. And that's not even counting his All-Star stuff, his gold medal. Just taking that right there with the sample size of the career, the 81-point game, I know it's not, defining anything, but shooting free throws with the Achilles torn, rehabbing, and then even though he shot almost 60 times to get 60 points, his last game he scores 60 points and has everybody in America going crazy. Look, you just say the name, and you think of winner, intense, NBA. And, the tragedy of him passing away with his daughter at the time he did, that elevates it to some extent. I don't know why we wouldn't be honest about that. But his career accolades, absolutely. Top 10, Kobe Bryant comes in at my number 10.
Now, let me ask this. And no, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. He won the 2 Finals MVPs. Were either of those with Shaq?
No.
So the Shaq won all 3?
The 3 Shaq ones were all Shaq, which was right.
And then he won them when they won with Gasol and beat Orlando and Boston.
Look, for the people that think he's higher than top 10, that's totally fine. You're free to think that. The reason he's 10 for me is not only the accolades and the longevity, and you're going to hear me say this about a couple players, I don't think he should have gotten the 2nd Finals MVP. Go back to the Game 7. It's one of the worst performances in a Game 7 by a major player. He had a few of those in his career, by the way, that we just overlooked because he gritted his teeth.
And he won 5 titles.
He called himself Mamba, and he was Michael Jordan's little brother. It should have been Gasol. That 2nd Finals, Gasol was the MVP of that series to me. They gave it to Kobe because of the name, I think, but he got them nonetheless. But, Kobe Bryant, my number 10.
Okay. Do we want a reaction to each player, or do we just keep going?
I think we keep going.
Just keep going?
So you want me to go number 9?
Final synopsis
and then we'll react to it there.
So I'm doing my full list?
Yeah, we'll chirp in every now and then, but you just keep going. You keep rolling.
Number 9, Steph Curry. I've really thought about this. This was not easy for me. Again, this is the Bill Chamberlain list for anybody that's going to chime in and get really upset.
How dare you?
There's an Eras thing here. I'm cutting it off.
You.
11-time All-Star, 2-time scoring champ, 4-time NBA champ, Finals MVP, 2-time MVP, first unanimous winner of the award, 11 times All-NBA, all-time three-point leader. Minus his one injured season when he played 5 games right around COVID, he has shot under 40% from 3 twice in a 16-year career, and one of those seasons he shot .397. We would round that up to 40.
Yeah.
You cannot have the volume of shots from 3 and shoot 40. That's insane. Nobody would have believed you that that's a real player. The cultural impact, I mean.
He's changed the game.
He's changed the game.
Yeah.
And I understand that he hasn't won all the Finals MVPs. He's had Finals moments where he doesn't look like the alpha of the alphas. But, dude, the Olympics in Paris, finally getting on the Olympic team and winning it, go night-night, the impact of the 3-ball in the league. And say what you want. Golden State's teams have been loaded. But that whole culture shift doesn't happen without good locker room leadership. And I give him a lot of credit for that. So I'm going Steph Curry with my number 9.
Okay. Steph over Kobe is going to be controversial to some right out of the gate. I love it.
That's okay. My number 8, I'm actually surprised. Swag surprised me the most of anybody here. My number 8 is Akeem Olajuwon. Akeem, as they called him when he came into the league, because nobody knew his name nor bothered to ask. Yeah. And then one day during his career, actually went up to a Rockets PR person and said,
Hakeem.
Could you put an H in front of my name? And he goes, why? He goes, my name's Hakeem. And he goes, why didn't you tell us? He goes, I didn't know. I was too scared. Hakeem Olajuwon is a 12-time All-Star. He's 12 times All-NBA. He's a 2-time champ, a 2-time Finals MVP, all-time blocks leader, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, League MVP, 9 times All-Defensive Team. And he has the greatest footwork of any player in league history. It's not close. If you really remember the history, and I'm not calling Swag out here because I know Swag remembers. If you remember the history of the Rockets prior to the titles, Hakeem Olajuwon's Rockets teams were piss poorly built. He had years where he was doing insane things, and his teams were one and done in the playoffs.
Yep.
And it wasn't until they finally found the right nucleus.
Took a long time.
Where he was like, look at this, I got some help and look what I can do. And one of the rumor mill things in the NBA, long rumored, never been confirmed, is that one of the things Michael always, I wouldn't say feared because I don't think Michael feared anybody, but always worried or kept a side eye on was, I don't want to play that dude in the finals because Luke Longley ain't stopping whatever that was.
Yeah,
Guard that guy.
He admitted it in The Last Dance. I think somewhere in The Last Dance it was like
I think it was the Rocket doc.
Or maybe
and
that.
I think
it's
it
like,
was
that's
Harper or Ori.
That's a problem.
That basically Mike knew he would be a problem more so than
they didn't have a good
else.
answer.
They had no answer for him. You cannot. I mean, it's just the league. He's also symbolic in this way. He's really the representative of what the international side of basketball had become at that point.
Mm-hmm.
That dude was a soccer player who was 6'8". They asked him to play ball. He got noticed. It took off from there, and he changed his game. By the way, Moses Malone may have created Hakeem Olajuwon. He used to play him in the summers at Houston University, punked him one day, dunked on him, fell to the floor, and he said, you got to be better. The next summer, Hakeem dunked on Moses. Moses fell. He went to pick Moses up. Moses was not a guy you effed with. And Moses just went, about damn time you did that. And from there, Hakeem took off. So Hakeem Olajuwon is my number 8.
Okay.
Number 7 is Larry Bird. Okay? 12-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, 3-time champ, 2 Finals MVPs, 3 MVPs in a row. He's on the list with Russell and Wilt as the only winners of that award 3 times in a row in league history. 3 times All-Defensive, Rookie of the Year, and robbed of the three-point line era because if he would have done it, his numbers would have been more impressive.
Yep.
His three-point numbers are
and
remarkable.
So despite the back injury, you cannot tell the history of the league without Larry Bird, Larry Legend. The Hick from French Lick is my number 7. Where are we at in time? Am I good?
You got it. Well, let's get to we'll get to your top 5. Go to Sprague.
Well,
and then
that's
after
6.
the break,
You want me to do my 6?
You can do number 6,
Okay.
and then we'll take a quick break.
Number 6, Shaquille O'Neal, 15-time All-Star, 4-time champ, Rookie of the Year, 3-time Finals MVP, a three-peat, 14-time All-NBA, 2-time scoring champ, 3-time All-Defensive, 1 MVP. So he's got little things that you're like, why was there only one of those?
That's a weird one that showed up in the Shaq research.
He's the most dominant force I've ever seen in my life. Underrated skill with size and touch. Like, he's 15th in rebounds. He's 8th in blocks. He's 9th in scoring. He's got 4 rings, and he's got a three-peat and he's 3 Finals MVPs. He got to the finals at a young age. He lost to a very veteran-seasoned dude. He goes to L.A., and he transforms the Lakers back into everything they want. Shaq is number 6. I'd never seen a more dominant force in my life.
It's an interesting guy, too, because he's also somebody that almost had 2 different versions of himself in the NBA, where he was always big, physical, and dominant, but early he'd run the floor and yam on you, and then later it just was in the low block.
We started getting those
nothing you could do.
those foot injuries,
Yeah.
and for big guys, as we know from Bill Walton,
I got to change the way I play a little bit. I'm just going to go down there.
That's
you can't
what
stop me.
supports 300 and however many pounds, and you just can't rehab when you get foot injuries.
I think it's hard for people our size to comprehend what it is to be that size.
Yeah.
And so when they quote unquote only win 4, we look at it and go, why not more? Be like, well, that's not always easy.
Not an easy thing to do.
I mean, go look at his finals numbers, by the way, in 04 against the Pistons. Wow. They didn't lose that finals because of Shaquille O'Neal.
Not at all.
He was awesome in that series. So Shaq is my number 6.
Okay.
Just on the outside of the top 5.
So we still got the top 5 to come. That'll come after
that'll
the
come
break.
next.
How do we feel, Jason Swigard? Do you want to give a quick synopsis of his 6 through 10? Biggest surprise so far?
The biggest surprise was how far down Kobe was. Because I know
interesting.
you are a big Kobe, you very much believe in the Mamba mentality and those sorts of things. I was surprised he was that low
I
on
used to
your
not
list.
have him in my top 10.
You did it, yeah.
And then I
You
thought
held
about
out.
it. Yeah, I held
Is that
out.
the death top 10? Is that an RIP top 10?
I mean, look, they are.
If he's alive, is he in the top 10?
Making him laugh in person probably changed my bias there a little bit as well, but also just go look at the resume. You can't argue with that resume.
I think a lot of people warmed to Kobe later in his career.
I agree.
He was a Blazer killer early
Yes.
on, and we hated him, and we still did, but I think there was a level of appreciation by the end of what he accomplished. I'll never forget the night, his last game in the NBA was the same night that the Warriors won their 73rd game, setting the regular season record
That's
for wins.
right.
And the Kobe game to me was like, it wasn't even close what I was more interested in.
Well, because I think they played a crappy team.
we
for
knew
that
they were
game.
going to win, but it was
Yeah.
about like seeing it, and then it was the
Weren't they
thought
playing
of
the Clippers?
might have, it was
maybe
somebody
it was.
bad, I thought, but I don't know.
But Kobe was playing the Jazz, and the
and they
Jazz
scored
were amazing.
It was like he went off. He's shooting the ball every time down the floor. Like, that was a really fun night. So I would say my biggest surprise is Larry Bird at 7. Being that low, I would have assumed Larry Bird was a consensus top 5 for a lot of people. So that's probably my biggest
Well,
surprise.
come
of the
back
first.
and I'll tell you who the
There we go.
consensus
Who
top
are the
5 should
top
be.
5? We'll find out. We're just getting started unveiling all of our top 10s live, but not really, but kind of, out at Langdon Farms for the Fan Golf Classic. Sprague's top 5 next on the Fan.
.1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Live out at Langdon Farms, not really, but kind of. Our top 10 NBA greatest of all time player list. Fun, special show. We left you on the cliffhanger of all cliffhangers. We got Brandon Sprague, 6 through 10 of his top 10 of all time. Without further ado, the world is ready to learn who are the top 5 players in the history of the NBA.
10 through 6 quick. Kobe, Steph, Olajuwon, Larry, Shaq.
Shaq.
Now, I'm curious your list because you don't have Kobe in your top 10.
I do not have Kobe in my top 10.
And I don't know where he is in your top. I'm fascinated to see your list. Here's my number 5. And this one's tough because in my heart, and you probably know this because we've argued about this guy, he is maybe a little higher in my heart. Tim Duncan comes in at number 5.
Okay.
He's 5th in blocks. He's 6th in rebounds, 17th in scoring, 15-time All-NBA, 5 championships, 3 Finals MVP, should be 4. Should have been the MVP in 07. That was bold that they gave that to Tony Parker. Tony Parker just averaged more points.
That's right. I forgot Tony Parker
so
won that Finals MVP.
He should have 4 MVPs and 5 titles.
Yeah.
2-time MVP, Rookie of the Year, 15-time All-Defensive Team. And the Spurs, here's a fun fact. He played 19 years. The Spurs never won less than 50 games. That is...
For 2 decades.
We haven't we're seeing it with one player, and he's kind of at the tail end right now. Duncan was doing stuff we'd never seen, man. 20-year run of that kind of excellence.
Even guys like Kobe and Steph and some of these other guys, I mean, they've had years where they've been hurt or out, and they've had down seasons.
Yeah, I actually think he's grossly underrated. I think it's disgusting when I hear people do this top 5 stuff, and he's not in my list. So I don't know if he's in your top 5s, but I'm ready to be disgusted. I think he's the ultimate winner, what he did at Wake Forest and what he became very, very quickly for the Spurs. I mean, Robinson was a great player. They were basically never good enough with Robinson. When Duncan came in, they won the chip. I mean, it was all Duncan. He changed everything. He set the culture. He allowed Pop to be Pop. And he brought this new wave of talent, and he never got mad if somebody else was the one. Do whatever it takes to win guy. I love Tim Duncan. He's my number 5. Number 4 is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem, I would make this argument. Greatest basketball career of any human ever. Yes. Kareem has that conversation, and maybe he's probably the GOAT in that, okay? Rookie of the Year, 2-time scoring champ, 15-time All-NBA, 11-time All-Defensive, 3rd all-time in blocks, 6 championships, 2 Finals MVPs, 19-time All-Star, and obviously the second leading scorer in league history. The skyhook is synonymous with basketball. The goggles had to change an attitude. Actually, Kareem was a great player, got angry very quickly in Milwaukee, left to L.A., was a little bit of a problem for them. He had a bad attitude. Magic came in, smiled his white pearlies, and changed everything.
Yep.
Him and Magic with that run, unbelievable. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I don't know how he's not in the top 5. And maybe he's not for everybody, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has to be in the top 5. I think he's number 4 all time. Number 3 is his teammate, Magic Johnson. Urban Magic Johnson, 15-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, 3-time MVP, 7th all-time in assists, 3-time Finals MVPs, 9 Finals appearances. I'm sorry. I'm not somebody that says you got to the championship, you lost, you're not good. Getting to the championship is what you want every year, is it not? Is that not what we beg for the Blazers to do?
That's why you play.
You got there 9 times.
Exactly.
Doesn't count. Can't win the big one. Oh, wait, he did a bunch.
Exactly. He won it 5 out of 9 times.
Yeah.
And this should be noted.
The most watched press conference in NBA league history.
He lost 4 seasons to HIV. People forget this, or maybe they don't. He was averaging 19, 12, and 7 his last season before he had to walk away.
How old was he when he walked away?
32 or 3.
He was in his young 30s.
Early 30s.
Yeah.
So he lost 4 seasons because of the HIV stuff. He came back. He wasn't the same.
No.
But, I mean, if you're going to have Larry in your top 10, Kareem, you can't tell the story of the league without Magic. And, look, Larry was good. Larry was great. But, Larry, Magic was great fodder for the country. There was the black-white element. I'd make
West
an
Coast,
argument.
East Coast.
Magic's slightly bigger in that duel because he had the smile.
Mm-hmm.
L.A. sexier than Boston.
Far more charismatic.
Far more, wanted to do interviews. You don't see Larry Bird anymore. I just saw Magic Johnson on First Take giving takes that everybody already knows. So Magic is my number 3.
Okay.
This is where it's going to get gross.
Oh, God.
I got to be honest with you. People are gonna...
Here we go. At Brandon Sprague on Twitter.
Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Wow. He did it. He did it.
14-time All-Star, 9-time All-Defensive, 5 MVPs, 6 titles, 6 Finals MVPs, 2 different three-peats, 10-time scoring champ, a depoy, 3-time steals champ, 4th all-time steals, 5th all-time scoring, 11-time All-NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'll say this. I have a Mike Jordan poster on my gym wall.
Is it the
No,
the
it's one of
wings?
him doing a dunk, and there's 4 different versions of him when he jumped. Mike is one of my all-time. If you don't pick Mike, you're a Mike hater. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. I live in both worlds. Michael Jordan is absolutely deserving of being number 1 on everybody's list. I don't hate it. I'm just taking into account one. Imagine if my number 1 player just walked away. What would they say about how weak he is? He walked away twice.
He did.
The Wizards
twice.
years existed. I'm sorry, Michael Jordan fans. Those were real years.
Yes.
Go listen to Jerry Stackhouse talk about what it was like, by the way, to be his teammate in Washington. Doesn't sound like it was a whole lot of fun. Look, and Pippen is going to go down as one of the all-time underrated players in league history. Was he a Robin? Sure. But he damn near was a Batman for a Blazer team that was a quarter away from a finals run. They won 55 games.
And he allowed Jordan on the floor at times to not worry about anything other than scoring.
Dude, they won 55 games the year after Mike walked away.
Yeah.
That was a pretty damn good team. So, I think he had a great team, and he's an all-time player. And what I will acknowledge is this. I cannot argue some of the stuff that you can't quantify. What I would say is absolutely big shot, big moment.
He's the best closer.
Mike. Like, I'm not even going to refute that. Michael Jordan in that moment, my God, there you go. Okay?
There you go.
Number one.
Who could it be? I'm waiting, bated breath.
From Akron, Ohio, LeBron James.
LeBron James.
All-time leading scorer, 4-time champ, 4 MVPs in the finals. Should be 5, by the way. Should have got it the year they lost in 2015. That was ridiculous that Iguodala got it. Top 25 in rebounding, 4th all-time in assister.
Yes.
8 straight finals, 9 in 10 years. First player to win finals MVP with 3 different teams. In Game 7s, you know how he's not clutch? He doesn't have that gene, they say.
Not a clutch gene.
In Game 7s, he averages 35, 10, and 6, and he's 6 and 2 all-time in Game 7s. He's the career leader in games, minutes, points, field goals, free throws, defensive rebounds, steals. And the 2007 Cavs finals team is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life from an athlete in any sport. And there's been no player that's ever come in with that kind of hype and has delivered. If I told everybody that doesn't like him, and that's fine if you don't, I think people mix up his commentary and his things that he says, and I think they mix it and cover his game. And I also think if you don't grate your teeth and pound your fist and look angry, you're not a clutch competitor, which is ridiculous. If I gave you just the career, say you're not a LeBron guy, right? You're a big Jordan guy and you don't even acknowledge
blind
LeBron.
resume.
If I just showed you, hey, the guy you're reading about that you already hate because he got a Hummer, God forbid. If I give you the piece of paper and I slide over what he's accomplished, what are you saying?
Yeah.
Nothing.
What's the better career? What's the better resume?
You're not saying anything. So, 2016 down 3-1 to the 73-win Warriors, and then wearing a Warrior T-shirt off the airplane is the ultimate troll.
Yeah.
Winning a title in Cleveland, winning 3 championships for 3 different teams. I just, there are
getting
stats.
some of those early Cavaliers teams to the finals.
Unbelievable.
I think, honestly, the biggest argument for LeBron ever is the 2007 Cavs team. I think if you're making an argument, like the comeback was incredible. It was one of the most iconic moments. He was 22 years old, and he had nobody on that roster. Nobody. Yeah. And that is one of the most –
Gibson and
I mean, just, yeah. I mean –
Ilgauskas on his 1 foot.
Dude, that team was horrible. That was such a bad basketball team. And every time he left, but immediately when he left in free agency, they were the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
Immediately upon his departure. Like, the 2007 Cavs team, of all the arguments for LeBron, to me, that's the one that I put the most weight in. He carried a team to the finals by himself.
I just hate the idea that, like, he couldn't play in certain eras. We've watched this dude.
That's such a dumb argument.
He's
6'10". He's a freight train.
I hate it.
Name me an era.
He developed himself into a good enough 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
It's still not smooth and comfortable, but
as his athleticism
he
has
shoots
declined,
like 38%.
I know.
He's still a good 3-point
when he lost
shooter.
to the Mavs in 11, which is sure, it's I guess a blip on the resume. Okay, guys can't lose in big moments. He admitted, I took in TV and social media, and it killed my mentals, and there you go. You know what he did that summer? No player has come into the next season ever with the amount of pressure that dude went in 2012 with. He went and got footwork, post work with Akeem Olajuwon in Houston.
Let's work on my game.
And what did he do next year? Yeah. He had statistically the best season of his career. Although I would just say, for the record, the best LeBron is the second Cleveland stint LeBron.
Without a doubt.
It is the mastered all the forces and the ways of basketball with still peak athleticism. I know Miami LeBron's in it for most people. Second Cleveland LeBron is my favorite LeBron of all time.
Well, that was a hell of a top 10. Interesting candidates. We'll get Swag's reaction here in a moment. Let's run through your top 10 one more time. 10 through 1.
So
Give me one more time.
Yeah, it's Kobe, number 10, Steph, 9, Hakeem, 8, Larry, 7, Shaq, 6, Duncan, 5, Kareem, 4, Magic, 3, Jordan, LeBron.
Okay. There's the top 10. Jason Swigard, your reaction?
I think that's pretty solid.
Pretty solid top 10.
I think there'll be a few things that we value differently when I reveal mine here. But no, I think that's quite a representative top 10 list for NBA history.
I have a hard time getting worked up and yelling about any of this.
Yeah,
it's so ridiculous.
there's
Like, dude, it's like, yeah. If you
and I
want to tell
don't
me you
wanna
think
go too
LeBron's the
because
greatest
then,
of all time,
Yeah, don't give yours away.
I'll reveal mine and maybe the differences between why I had somebody higher or lower than you did.
The
and
Hakeem one is I'm fascinated by that because we both agree and
Who are the
feel the
top
same
10,
way
yeah.
about Hakeem, and he's
He's an
not in
insane
your
player.
top 10.
He's not in Swag's top 10. The other thing that I'll do, because I'll let you go next, Swag, and then I'll finish it off as basketball dirt.
By the way,
Everybody
that's
can't wait.
Brandon Sprague's Bill Chamberlain.
Bill
top
Chamberlain
10.
top 10.
There's an era cutoff here. I'm sorry.
We'll recap these again at the end of the show if you missed it. Some more thoughts, and then we'll get to Swag's top 10 next on The Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Blazers jumping into the NBA offseason frenzy. They have agreed to deal Anthony Simons to the Boston Celtics for Drew Holiday. This, according to Shams Charania. Portland also sending a couple of second-round picks to Boston. Holiday, his second stint with the Blazers. He will play for the first time. He was part of the Damian Lillard trade. And now Portland moves to the draft tomorrow, where they hold the number 11 overall pick. Elsewhere around the NBA, ESPN reports the Mavericks and center Daniel Gafford have agreed on a 3-year, $60 million contract extension. Chris Middleton has exercised his $33.3 million player option for next season with the Wizards. Mariners open up a 4-game set in Minnesota with an 11-2 win over the Twins, capped by Cal Raleigh's league-leading 32nd home run in the 9th inning. Game 2 this afternoon, 4:40 on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard here with the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt, missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
I was just walking by your room, and you know, I was thinking, boy, it's been a long time since we've had the little father-son chat.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
I bought some magazines. Do you want to just flip to the center section? Well, this is the female form.
Andy Dirt Johnson.
This is Hustler, and this is a much more exotic magazine. Look at the expression on her face. You see that? See what she's doing? She's kind of looking right into your eyes, saying, "Hey, big boy. Hey, how you doing?" You see? Right.
And Brendan Sprague.
Shave is a magazine I'm not too familiar with, but again, if you flip to the center section, well, you see the detail that they go into in this picture here. It almost looks like a tropical plant or something underwater. Yeah, thing.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Okay, that was good. Yeah. See you at dinner.
Yeah, I'll see you at dinner.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back out at Langdon Farms recorded live show. Top 10 greatest players in NBA history. We're hanging out and going through this. So Sprague just gave his Bill Chamberlain top 10 of all time. We have to see if Swag has a name for his top 10. Did you name your top 10?
No, I did not.
Okay, no
This is
name
just,
for your just Swaggy's top 10.
At Fan Swag.
The Swagalicious.
Send it in the Swagalicious. The
Here comes George
Swagalicious
Mikan.
10.
Here comes George Mikan and Billy Ray Bates. Without further ado, Jason Swigard, who are your top 10?
Alrighty. We will start 10. I know you didn't, the Chamberlain list. Wilt Chamberlain is 10. I don't think you can tell the story of the NBA without what he did. 13-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, only 2 NBA titles, and that's because he had to go. He didn't have as much help as the Celtics
were
did.
loaded.
And the Celtics were a wagon. 7-time scoring champ, 11-time rebounding champ. He's still, in terms of rebounds per year,
nobody will touch that.
Nobody's going to touch that. They did not count block shots as an official stat in the NBA till 1974.
He'd probably be the box
Otherwise,
leader,
he'd be number one.
Yeah.
He led the league in assists one year because he got crap from, well, you're taking all the shots, of course. And so he went out and led the league in assists one year. He averaged 50 points, 25, and 7 or 8 assists one year. Finals MVP, 4-time MVP, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
But I think, and because of him, they widened the keys. If you go back and look, they had the little skinny, narrow Hoosiers keys.
Right.
It was because of him that they initially widened it to where he couldn't just post up on the block and reach up to the rim and just lay
Turn
it
around
in.
and flip it in, yeah.
There was discussion in his era if they should not allow dunks in the NBA, like ban the dunk because it was such an advantage. And he was, even at 7'4", he was still a great athlete. He was a known volleyball player. He's probably a better volleyball player than he was, and who would love to have him as a middle blocker and whatever. Won an Olympic gold there at the, when it was still amateurs before, when he was at Kansas. But every time we see some scoring record from Jokic or Durant or Steph, the list, the absurdity with which Wilt set records and the records that he holds and the gap between, how many times did you have a 40-point game or 50-point game?
Right.
And then Wilt did it 5 times, whatever. But I can't ignore that.
All-time stick man.
Oh, yeah.
All-time stick
All-time
man.
stick man.
All-time.
Look, I think you're right. Ultimately, you can't tell the story without Wilt, and that the tough thing for me wasn't. I'm not going to.
The eras, yes.
Yeah.
He didn't go.
He's on the Bill Chamberlain list for
exactly.
a reason, okay.
I understand that, but some of the absurdity of what he did.
No, I see the stat lines and I go, that's fake.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
You just
50,
can't ignore
30, and 10.
All right, number 9, Steph Curry.
Look at that. We have the same number 9.
So Steph Curry.
Dirt hates this.
Play some defense.
Very athletic, all those sorts of things. But the fact that he went from where the three-point shot was kind of a specialty weapon for NBA teams, more than when it first came in the Larry Bird Magic era, where it was more of a way to, if we need to catch up at the end of the game or something like that, but it wasn't a part of offenses. It had become a part of offenses. We have certain guys that are specialty guys that if we can get them free, but it was still about driving, getting to the hoop, getting to the mid-range, those sorts of things. He changed the way he brought in analytics, but the degree to which he practiced that, his regimen, the ball handling skills, and his ability to be just as effective with the ball or playing without the ball, I think is what separated him. He's able to do all of that within the team concept that the Warriors embraced.
Yep.
And he wasn't a guy that just dominated the ball like a James Harden. Like James Harden can get 60, but
had to have the ball.
Dribble.
Exactly.
Dribble.
And so he led the league in steals one year, scoring champ twice. And he was a great team defender. He wasn't a great on-the-ball defender, but he was a great team defender and understood he had to take care of that end of the floor too. Number 8, Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay. A little lower than I had him.
Yeah. And what I started to find was longevity and your ability to maintain your level for the longevity of your career started to weigh more into my factors. But you can't deny he was the single most dominant force in the league for about a stretch of 6 or 7 years. Like, you did not know what you couldn't defend. If he got the ball on the block, and it didn't matter sometimes if you did foul him or not. You had to send 2 or 3 people at him.
I would say his first year in L.A., 96, 97, so he'd gotten the Orlando loss out of his system.
Yeah.
That year, 96, 97, and I would say until about maybe even the Miami title.
Because he was still really good.
Because they were still
Miami
super
runs.
worried about him, and then D-Wade
Yeah.
got a lot of free throws. I would say that was the run he was the most dominant player we had seen since Wilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you didn't know what to do. And
There was no answer.
Hack-a-Shaq came in.
To create a thing.
We are out of answers, so the only thing we're going to do is the one thing you don't do great is shoot free throws.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll miss enough that allows us to stay in the game and find a way to win at the end.
No answers for him.
He was amazing. Number 7, Tim Duncan.
Wow. Duncan, number 7. Ooh.
15-time All-Defensive.
Oh, yeah, I know.
15-time All-Star, 15-time All-NBA. Probably should have had another MVP, another Finals MVP, as you mentioned. He was the ultimate team guy. Because he'd do whatever the game plan called for based on the opponent. It was similar to he allowed Popovich to treat games, especially playoff series, like Belichick did. Belichick didn't have like a system. He's like, all right, what does this team do well? What does this team not do well? Where are their weaknesses? Where can I take advantage? And he'd make it up. And the reason you could do that for the Spurs was, okay, I'll change the rotation. We're going to go bigger. We're going to go smaller, whatever. It didn't matter. I'll have Tim on the block. No, I want Tim at the high post. Whatever you wanted to do, he had all the skill set that was, if you wanted to run the offense through him as a passer, if you wanted him to be more aggressive, he could do it. It was amazing.
He was a bunny in the first finals against Miami, like a 3-foot little blooper, and a bad substitution in that same series, which led to the Ray Allen 3. Coincidentally, today we're recording is the anniversary of that shot.
Yeah.
Pop took him out on that play. Chris Bosh ain't rebounding that basketball if Pop leaves Duncan in, and if he doesn't miss that little bunny.
Yep.
We're talking about a guy with 7.
Yep.
Like 6 or 7 rings here. That's why he's my top 5. But
Number 6, Kobe Bryant. This one shocks you guys, I know.
you have him way higher than me.
That's surprising, yeah.
I went back and started looking at just his ability. It's him and MJ as the 2 most competitive, rip your guts out, even more than LeBron, I think. His dedication, effort, urgency in every game at both ends of the floor was amazing. He was, Shaq, when he and Shaq were together, Shaq was a problem just simply because of his size. Kobe was a problem because of everything that he could do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if you decided to take this away from him, then he had this to go to. two-time scoring champ, 4-time All-Star Game MVP. And trust me, in an era where now we're debating, is the All-Star Game even worthy of it? This guy was so competitive. He wanted to win.
He loved the All-Star
Game MVPs because I'm competing against. He was like Pete Rose in the All-Star. Like he'd take a charge in an All-Star game.
Yeah.
I would argue that Kobe was the last of the
Bit of a
gritty
dying breed, yeah.
NBA era.
Yeah.
And LeBron is the symbolic nature of the
Yeah.
AAU culture of you're the
I agree with
chosen
that.
one. We're going to give you everything you want at a young age.
Play with your friends. Don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
you don't need to do that. You're too good for that. Okay, I won't do the dunk contest. I
Right.
won't do this. The one thing I only push back on that drives me nuts. I don't think you can quantify that competitive rip your throat stuff out because he didn't grip his teeth. He didn't copy Michael Jordan.
No, he didn't.
You can't get to 8 straight NBA finals unless you're that dude.
Oh, I know.
They just have different physical looks to them when they do it.
Yeah.
It's like if he didn't do the Boston Game 6, LeBron, when he killed him, if you don't do that every game, you're not a competitor.
Well, but Kobe would. I say this more like at the end of the games when they had to get. One, he commanded the ball, but I think at the defense, he wasn't afraid to guard anybody. He's like, we need to stop. I'm guarding this guy who's killing us. I don't care if he's 7'1" or he's 6'1".
Yeah.
It was that sort of thing was, okay, this is what we need to do. I need to do it because I'm leading this team, and he led by example. And then the other piece of it for me is this current generation, most of this current generation of NBA people coming up, his work ethic, his dedication to body, to spirit, to all of those things, the Mamba mentality,
Yeah, that's real,
I think
for sure.
is the most now revered of this current generation. He spawned of the great ones. They tried to copy his approach to being a professional.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. 10 through 6 for Jason Swigard. We're going to wait for the other side of the commercial break.
There we go.
We'll find out. The top 5. Our top 10 NBA show continues out at Langdon Farms, recorded live, next on The Fan. All right, welcome back in. Live, not live, kind of live out at Langdon Farms. Our top 10 NBA players of all time show. We went through Sprague's list earlier. We'll recap that here at the end of the show. We got Swag 6 through 10. So before we get your top 5, quick synopsis,
Yes.
6 through 10 you have.
So Wilt 10, Steph Curry 9, Shaq 8, Tim Duncan 7, Kobe Bryant 6.
Okay, now we await the top 5 players according
All right.
to Jason Swigard.
We have a tie at 4.
Well, what about 5?
Well, 4 and 5, but they would be tied for 4.
You got 4A,
I have
4B.
Duncan at 5. You have Duncan at 7.
And Kobe was 6.
Yeah, I have Kobe
So
at
if
10.
you have a tie at 4, that's 2. So you
Oh,
would
okay.
skip 5.
Okay.
That is how
Who
that
are
works.
your 2 4s?
It's Magic and Larry.
What is
They go
this?
together.
What is this nonsense?
You can't have 2
no.
4s.
I
You're
can't.
What name do
confusing
I
me.
put down on the
No.
list first? I got
Who's
to put a
your
name
fifth?
down first.
Who's 5?
I-
I'm making you.
Go in
Break
alphabetical
them
order
up.
if you want. I don't care.
They're
They
not-
go together.
they're not
They
conjoined
go
twins.
together. I watched the 79
5 and 4?
NCAA.
I can't write out a top 10
No,
list
you
with
can't.
2 4s.
Who's
It's got to
5
be
and
2
4?
names.
Who's 5 and 4?
I'm going to call the boss over here and have him rule on
I know
this.
how you want to do it.
We need an arbitration
You're just
judge.
afraid to do it. It's
All right.
Larry the
Larry's
Magic.
5th.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
by like decimal point 0.0000.
So Larry
They go-
5, Magic 4.
They go together.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
From the 79 NCAA championship game.
The league couldn't have drawn it up better what they got out of that.
And from where the league was, where I was staying up late on a Friday night to watch the NBA Finals after my late local news on tape delay,
yeah.
they made the NBA entertainment. They made the NBA a desirable television product.
The names on the back of the jerseys.
They ushered in
Endorsements, brands.
endorsements, and they both did it in their very own particular styles, and they were just as great. The fact that they met almost seemingly every year for the NBA title in all of the 80s.
Crazy.
Save for the Sixers a couple of times early in the decade and the Pistons late in the decade.
Random Rockets year in there, too.
Oh, yeah.
With the Twin Towers.
Yep. Yeah, that one stunned the Lakers like nobody's business.
Yeah.
But little Ralph Sampson thrown in there.
They thought
for
they
fun.
had it. They were like, oh,
Yep.
we're going to take it over, and they never got back as a duo.
But that rivalry and their ability to elevate the NBA past Major League Baseball as must-see TV that NBC took it over from CBS. That's what made it desirable, that now they anchored, your weekend sports programming around what they could get. And the fact that I think Larry Bird's a little underappreciated because he had the injuries, but his passing ability was
filthy.
right up there with
Yeah.
Magic's. But he had similarly, the Lakers, Magic was the playmaker for them, and the Celtics had several guys that they could run it through at any. I mean, all of them. McHale down on the post was a willing passer. Robert Parrish was a willing passer from the top of the key. So. And I was surprised when I went back and looked that Larry made 3 all-defensive teams.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he was a better defender than people
he was
give
a
credit.
great rebounder.
Great rebounder.
For his size. So those guys go together. Number 3, Michael Jordan.
Oh, my God. I thought I was going to get some crap. Wow.
I love it.
Wow.
You look at now you know who 1 and 2 are going to be.
Yeah, I do.
This is where the longevity piece of it came in. There was no better closer than Michael Jordan. And he might have that reign once he finally got and Pippen and Phil Jackson and they got to the finals, that 8-year period where he won the 6 titles and then and did not lose one, the most dominant stretch. But when it came to what 2 and 1 were able to do and sustain over a much longer period of time, I could not discount that.
Wow.
fair.
Longevity.
So longevity carried a lot of weight in your
It
top 10
started
then.
to because,
Yeah.
they all have about the same number of MVPs. Now, he had 6 finals MVPs more than than other guys, but that was how those particular teams were set up. It was all designed around
to be Mike,
him.
Right.
He was. Yeah, but in terms of
go rewatch, by the way, 98 finals game. Super random. It's the end of the run.
Yeah.
Game 4, Game 2, I forget who had home court there, but it was in Utah. I'm watching this game, and I'm just like, Scotty's got no back. Scotty's back is...
Yeah, the back injury, yeah.
My spinal. They are double-teaming Scottie Pippen and leaving Byron Russell one-on-one with Michael Jordan. And I'm like, what kind of a defensive approach was this? Why are we double-teaming the guy with a broken back?
Maybe not a great idea.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
If all the guys are double, probably not.
Yeah.
Number 2, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh, look at us with the same number 1.
Wow, you guys are going to piss a lot of people off. I love it.
6 MVPs, 6 titles,
Captain.
19-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
And still amidst when he got Magic and they got Worthy and all of those things, he was still the anchor, and he had the single most indefensible shot
Yes, he did.
in NBA history. And this is the era when the big man was still there. So the best run of centers from the late 70s with Walton and Wes Unseld and Artis Gilmore into the 80s with Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing and even guys – and every team had at least one 7-footer. Ralph Sampson was in there. Even guys like Rick Smits. And everybody had a 7-footer. And still, when he got the ball within 15 feet, it wasn't necessarily on the block. You go down on the base. If he was 15 feet on the baseline, he'll still throw up a sky hook, and there was nothing you could do about it.
Yeah.
And he was a better passer than people gave him credit for. He came in, I can't remember, I think he started, or it was still when block shots weren't, I think he started before then, winning the title in Milwaukee and then what he was able to do with the Lakers. But his ability for a big man to keep himself in that sort of shape, he didn't have too many lengthy, other than at the very end when he got to his 40s where he was missing games regularly.
He was in the league when they kept. It was 73-74 when they kept that stat, block shots.
But still among those leaders today, he's still – the fact that he was the all-time leading scorer for as long as he was in the NBA, it took 21 years from LeBron to get him.
Yep.
It is pretty amazing. And there you go, LeBron James. It's ridiculous. He's still the best player on his team at age whatever.
Well, maybe not anymore.
Not anymore. I don't know
But
about anymore.
he's still in the conversation.
Well,
And
but
that
he's
guy's like 25 years old.
He
26.
still plays the most minutes, the most meaningful minutes of anybody on a team at age 40, whatever. I was there in the building covering his very first game. I remember being pinned. They brought him out of the Blazers visiting locker room, and we were there in the hallway, and I was pinned up against the wall, trying to reach a mic out when we were still doing our local Blazer postgame shows here on the Fan, and just looking at him at 18, and like, okay, you're not 18, you're an alien. Knowing that for 2 years prior, I think he was 16 when he first made the Sports Illustrated cover.
Yeah, that was when he was on the cover, 16.
He was the chosen one.
Yeah.
Didn't have any seasoning in college.
Nope.
Stepped into the role as the next great whatever
At
for the
18.
NBA.
18 years old.
Crazy.
And has delivered for 21 seasons.
Yeah.
Every year he's been in the league. No downswings, no bad years,
No.
Yeah.
So other than bad PR
His
stuff.
disappointments are losing in the championship.
Yeah,
Exactly.
not winning an NBA championship is a failure.
And, you can critique his meddling as far as wanting his hand in the GM stuff. And
What's funny about that is we do criticize him with the GM stuff. What we don't do is we don't also say, okay, he's the general manager. He's won 4 titles as a general manager. How many has your favorite team won? I find it funny when he loses, he's a bad GM.
so
Stop letting this guy run the team.
Dude, he had J.R. Smith on his team, and he won a ring.
He did.
I know.
J.R. Smith.
He did.
All-time goofy, don't take him seriously player.
Who famously in
doesn't
a
know how
finals
much
game
time's left on a clock.
Yeah.
grabbed an offensive rebound and didn't get a shot up.
Yeah.
And they ended up losing the game.
in one of the
And
greatest games I've ever seen in my life.
he had like 50, 20, and 10, and they still
crazy.
lost the game
So
in that finals.
I tried to put individual favoritism biases aside here and look at who really he
There's
was
nothing
dominant.
wrong. Yeah.
He was dominant from the day he stepped into the league, and he's still
an elite player.
The biggest problem when you go play a LeBron James team is what are we going to do with him? He can still get up. His ability to get to the rim at this age is ridiculous.
I ask you very quickly both? If Kyrie doesn't get 115, I think they beat that Warrior team because they pushed him to 6 with Dellavedova.
They did.
And then if KD doesn't become a little B and join,
yeah,
I'm just like, really, what is? We could be the dumb guys to everybody listening to this, having him over Mike or whoever. What is the narrative if he has 6?
Yeah, if he won 3 in a row, say with Cleveland.
I just like what?
Yeah.
What are?
If
what
Durant
are we
doesn't
saying?
join that team and they have a 3-peat?
What are we saying?
Yeah.
Is
You
it
would say that
different?
he's not. You would say that he's not 6-0. That would be the argument.
Okay, all right.
I mean,
The
they would
record,
they
yeah,
would move the
fine.
goalpost
Yeah,
and say
okay, that's what I thought.
MJ was 6-0 and LeBron lost, and if you lost in the finals, you'd never be as good as MJ.
I just think it's Magic will get kind of punished for that. It's like, dude, you went to the finals 9 times.
It's one of the dumbest things we do is not giving people credit for getting there.
As if that's not an achievement.
Yeah, it's almost like I feel like this other sports are dealing with it now. The NFL with Brady and the Super Bowls he won. Like we did this with Mahomes when he lost. Well, you could never be as good as Brady. What if he wins 11? What if he's 11-4? That's not better than Tom Brady. That doesn't count. Like it's just stupid how we do it.
Yeah, so there you go.
LeBron number 1 in 2 different lists so far.
Yeah.
We didn't consult each other.
No, we did not consult.
So who do you have that
No
Because I have a
consulting.
Keem on
Wilt.
Oh, Wilt.
I
That's
had
the
Wilt at
difference.
10.
Yeah, okay.
I couldn't.
So you guys had 9 of the same 10, right? Other than Wilt?
Yeah.
Different order, but yeah.
Different order. Yeah, not
Same
different
players.
order, but
Yeah.
you had 9 of the same 10.
Yeah.
You guys ready to get wacky?
Yeah.
I am ready to get wacky.
Wacky morning
How high
radio
is
guy.
Jokic on this?
Wacky morning radio guy. We're live out at Langdon Farms, pre-live, not recorded, but kind of recorded, but live, but not live out at Langdon Farms. My top 10 coming up next on the Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on the Fan, Drew Holiday is a Trailblazer for a second time, and this time he's likely to play his first game in a Portland uniform. Shams Charania reporting Blazers sending Anthony Simons and a pair of second-round picks to Boston in exchange for the 35-year-old 3-and-D player who has 2 years and $72 million left on his current contract, plus a player option. The move will free up the logjam in the backcourt. Scoot Henderson, now the incumbent at point guard, and Portland holds the number 11 pick for tomorrow night's NBA draft. Cal Raleigh hit his league-leading 32nd home run in Minnesota Monday, capping off the Mariners' 11-2 rout to open up a 4-game series against the Twins. Game 2 this afternoon, 4:40 on Root Sports. And the University of Oregon Board of Trustees has approved a 3-year contract extension for athletic director Rob Mullins, keeping him in Eugene through 2033. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart for the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt, missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Jump back to earlier.
All right, welcome back in live out at Langdon Farms. Not really, but kind of. Fan Golf Classic Day. We are recording this for our top 10 greatest NBA players of all time. In the final segment, which will be coming up next, we'll recap all of the top 10s. Once this show is done, I will put out a poll question. Who has the best top 10? The definitive top 10
don't do that. We're
of
gonna
the
get
morning show.
So much crap.
These two idiots have LeBron number 1. God, choke artist in the playoffs. Let's choke. I don't know how you do that,
Yeah.
but we'll get to our top 10. Everybody's been waiting for it. Now, I'm not going to go through all the numbers of these guys because you guys highlighted it. If I have somebody a little bit higher, a little bit lower, I'll explain why I have them higher or lower. But all the numbers for every single one of these players is insane, remarkable, and they're all deserving, even the guys that we started with who are outside the top 10. I have, according to my top 10, so I'm looking through your guys' list and mine. I think I only have three. I have 3 different names than you guys.
That's a lot more because we had 9 of our 10.
Yeah.
9 of the top
names.
10. The only difference between you two was you had Akeem and
I had
Swag
Wilt.
had Wilt.
Wilt,
That's
yeah.
the only difference between the two of you.
But I had
okay?
the Bill Chamberlain top 10.
But it is the Bill Chamberlain
So he's
top
kinda
10. This is the Kobe Bryant mama mentality Bill Chamberlain top 10, according to Andy Dur Johnson, because Kobe Bryant is not inside my top 10.
That's shocking.
Yeah, look, here's what I'll start with before I get to my top 10. I
Yeah.
have a really hard time with parceling out team accomplishments for players when I think a lot of players could have been interchangeable in those spots and won titles. So, the Kobe example. Kobe Bryant is an incredible player. He's one of the greatest of all time in the history of the league.
Right.
I think you could have interchanged 10 different guards in the NBA at that time, and those Laker teams still would have won NBA championships. Shaq won 3 straight NBA finals. And I'm going to get to my number 10 player here in a moment. You're going to tell me if this guy was on that team, they wouldn't have won a 3-peat in the NBA championship. You can't look at me and tell me it wouldn't have happened. Swap the players and tell me the finals would have been different. My 10th greatest player in the history of the NBA is Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson, at 6 foot, barely, standing on his tippy toes.
White Iverson over here.
At 6 foot, we're talking about cultural impact.
Yeah.
Not many have had a bigger cultural impact than him. He was one of the most dominant offensive players for essentially a 10-year run. He came into the league in 1996. Was immediately Rookie of the Year. After a sluggish second year, he was top 5 in MVP voting essentially for a decade straight. He won an MVP in 2000 and 2001.
Yes, he did.
He also received votes many years as Defensive Player of the Year. He led the NBA in steals 3 consecutive years in 01, 02, and 03.
Yeah.
And this is the hard part that I have with it, right? Like, Kobe won a total of 5 championships in his career.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. If you swap Allen Iverson and Kobe on those 3-peat Laker teams, did the Lakers win a title?
Yeah, I think they win. I mean,
They win 3,
Yeah.
right? And Shaq would have still been the Finals MVP. So I don't want to take away what he accomplished later. The point that I tried to bring up at the start with guys like Iverson, and you pointed out that Mutombo was an all-star.
Yeah.
Mutombo was a good defensive big. That was his best Robin he ever had in his career. There was never a Scottie Pippen. There was never a Shaq. There was never a Kobe. No. There was never a Kareem. There was never insert any player
I think they got him
you
a
want.
Chris Webber one year.
Dude,
and it was
go
like,
back and look at that finals team, man. Eric Snow is your number 2 guy. Like Aaron McKee. What are we talking about here? And they made an NBA Finals.
Larry Hughes.
He stepped over Tyronn Lue.
Yeah.
Iconic moment.
Iconic moment,
Allen
man.
Iverson, cultural impact, the
I love
success that he had, the height that he had. He was a well-rounded player. Certainly causes issues, but we're talking about practice, man. He showed up and played in games when they mattered most, and he was incredibly reliable and durable.
He also gave the NBA a dress code.
He did. That's another impactful moment, too. He absolutely did.
Hey, look, I'll say this. I'm not mad at it. I love it. He definitely meant a lot. I need to add more pictures, but on my Arnie's gym wall is Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michael Jordan.
Who didn't love the honeycombs?
Allen Iverson.
The honeycomb shoes, too. I mean, just
the answers.
The answers. Number 9 on my list. My first 3 are all the different, and then I'll get to the rest of my top 7. I'll go quickly through those. This is the one I'm surprised he didn't show up on either of your near-miss lists, and this is more of a Swigard wheelhouse.
Well, he might have been. I just didn't read him.
He could have been, very well.
So
Very well could have been a part of it. So this one for me was, I've tried to have somebody of historical context, right? Wilt Chamberlain's not in my top 10. Bill Russell's not in my top 10. No offense to either of those players, incredible. I went with somebody who I thought was a fit in every era, could have been a fit in every era that he played in, and is also a bit of a criminal. Now, or a bit of a criminal, a bit of a victim of the same thing that I exposed with Allen Iverson, right? Of just not having number 2 guys. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I'm not firm on my 1960 to 1967 Cincinnati, basketball facts.
Oh, the big O.
I got the big O in there.
Yeah.
He is a guy who set triple-double marks that stood forever until they've finally started to be toppled here in the last couple of years.
That was a big deal, and then we got a player that did it, and we went, he's a stat pattern.
He's a stat pattern. And we just downplayed it like it wasn't a big deal, right? Here's a guy who came in the league, won Rookie of the Year his first year in the league. He was top 5 in MVP voting. He averaged 30 points per game as a rookie. He then finished in top 5 in MVP voting for 7 consecutive seasons. He finished top 5 again 3 years after that, so he had a long career, 14 years.
Yeah.
Ended in Milwaukee. He wasn't quite the same player at the end. His point per game averaged 30, 30, 28, 31, 30, 31, 30, 29.
Jeez.
He had years where he led the NBA in assists. Of his 14-year career, he led the NBA in assists 7 of those 14 years. He had multiple years right out of the gate where he averaged double digits in rebounds. So he was a 6'5" wing guard combo who could have easily translated to any era in the NBA. A lot of guys I look at back then, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I do think part of the dominance was you were just so much bigger than everybody else. Like Wilt was just he was a freak. He was a unicorn.
There was outliers.
He's
to
the
group.
outlier,
Yes.
and there's nothing
Yes.
that you could do again.
Yes.
There were a lot of 6'5" guys in the league at that time,
Right.
and he was, in my opinion, the best one. He set a standard for triple-doubles that held until, again, they started to fall. So Oscar Robertson is my number 9 player.
Quick question. So he won with Kareem
Yes.
in Milwaukee.
He won one win. I believe he only has one title.
Yeah,
I believe
just
you're
the
right.
one
And it was at the end of his career.
Yeah.
He wasn't quite the same player as he was early.
I love that you got him on the list. He was somebody on my outside, but Dr. J, there are guys that I don't know, man. It was tough. My list ain't perfect.
Yeah.
Why him and not a Wilt?
Because Wilt, I put more respect on somebody who didn't do it sheerly because they were born 7 foot tall. And again, that sounds disrespectful, but
Short man theme is what I'm getting from this top
there's
10
a big,
swag.
there's a short man theme here.
Stockton number 1.
Stockton was on my near miss list. Somebody's got to stick up for the short kings out
You're
there,
not
okay?
wrong.
At number 8, this is when everybody's going to get all hot and bothered, but I don't care anyways. I think as time goes on, this will be proven correct, and I don't care if it's too early.
Oh,
I don't care if it's too soon.
There he
I've been
is.
known to
There
come
he
too
is.
soon at times in my life.
Oh, whoa.
Hey, calm down. Hey, whoa, Luke, that was rude and offensive. Number 8 on my list is, in my opinion, the most skilled center in the history of the league. A guy who, if we had voters with their heads on, probably could have won 5 consecutive MVPs. The only reason he didn't win 4 in a row was because we had to get into a race war for a year
Shout out
between
Kendrick
him
Perkins.
and Joel Embiid, to the point where he was like, please don't give me this award. I don't want it anymore.
He did, yeah.
And then somehow, some way, this year, which was the best year of his career as a center, he averaged 29 points per game, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists. Oh, by the way, he was also top 10 in the NBA when you look at per volume three-point shooting at nearly 42% from 3. Nikola Jokic easily could have won 5 consecutive MVPs. He has been the best player of this generation. He's not elite defensively.
No.
He's good. He's not elite. That's the only thing that I hold against him. I think as time goes on, this will be proven right to me over a basically 7-year run of being a first team or second team All-NBA guy and multiple MVPs. Jokic has done enough in my mind. He's the most skilled big man in the history of the league. There's not many that I would take over him historically, and he is my 8th greatest player.
I think in 2 years, Dirt, could be in my top 10.
Yeah.
And look, if he gets a second chip, you're getting into territory that
He's the easiest one to move up if he can sustain this.
If this
and
keeps going.
get another title, and
Yep. I
he's
agree.
right.
Most
in there.
skilled big man of
I'm
all
not
time.
mad at
in
you
my
getting
mind.
ahead of it.
Top 7 is all the same names that you guys have heard. I'll give you my order, and then I'll going to give you the names, and I'll go through some of the reasons why I had guys in different places.
Okay.
Number 7 for me is Tim Duncan. You guys laid it all out. Number 6 is Shaq, most dominant player, physically dominant player in the history of the league. Number 5 is Kareem. Number 4 is Magic. Number 3 is Larry Bird. Number 2 is LeBron James, and number 1 is Michael Jordan. The longevity arguments are all valid. I think if LeBron would have been teamed up with Scottie Pippen, you can make an argument he would have won 6 consecutive NBA titles. He had nothing early in his career in Cleveland. I don't hold the finals losses against him. To me, and I don't know if it's just being a child of the 90s, there is a little bit of a mystique. He is the biggest name
lot of
and
nostalgia
face
there.
in the history of the league. He is the most intimidating player that has ever played in the history of the league. The stories that continue to come out, it's not the end-all, be-all, but never losing an NBA Finals is wildly impressive. You only went to 6. Other guys have gone to more. But being 6-0 and the Finals MVP every single time that they were there is remarkable. So I did have Jordan number 1, LeBron number 2. The reason I had Larry number 3.
I was going to say you got Larry over Magic.
I do have Larry over Magic.
Race war.
Race war. Give me the whites. The only reason that I put him number 3 on my list is I tried to encapsulate for a lot of the guys the well-rounded nature of your game, and I felt like Larry could do everything that Magic did. He was not as good maybe, but one of the best passers in the history of the league.
Yeah.
I thought he was a better shooter than
Yes.
Magic
Yes,
Johnson. There's no
definitely.
doubt about
Certainly
that.
was.
And I think he was a better defender than Magic Johnson. Now, I think both those guys are almost It's unfortunate because what could have been for either of them had Larry not had the back injuries later in his career and been able to play maybe 5 or 6 more elite seasons, and then Magic not obviously with the HIV diagnosis.
Or be able to play.
Or be able to play. Like just being robbed of that opportunity at that point of his career. It's weird to think where those guys could have been. Could they have won more titles? Where would some of the all-time numbers be? So I had Larry Bird third just simply because I thought he was a better all-around player than Magic. Other than that, I mean, you're just splitting hairs with all of these guys. So, again, my top 10 from back to front, Allen Iverson, Oscar Robertson, Nikola Jokic, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, top 5, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan. Assess. Talks amongst yourselves.
I got to be honest. I thought you'd be with LeBron at 1. I know you like LeBron James.
He's LeBron guy.
But
Nothing
I also,
against LeBron.
I in fighting the LeBron Jordan thing and fighting, I mean, like, just thinking for myself because I hate these people on the internet with it. I mean, I don't think there's a wrong answer. And I think the idea that there is just utterly stupid. It's culty. But I can't refute the Magic mystique and feel that Mike created. Like, I know I had it.
I wanted to be like Mike.
The only thing I say is, like, and I've never understood some of the arguments. LeBron wins the East. Well, the East is weak. Could anybody answer me this? When the Bulls won their first title, they beat the Lakers, okay, 90-91. Can anybody tell me when the Bulls weren't in the championship with Jordan from 90, who won the NBA title? So who won it in the 2 years that he was out of the league, or the year and a half?
It was the Rockets.
It was the Rockets. What conference are they in?
West.
Oh, but the East is so strong. When Mike retired in 98, who won it after that? The Spurs.
Spurs started their
And then who won after the Spurs?
The Lakers.
How many times in a row?
3.
Yeah.
So, like, my thing is, like, not that Mike didn't have weak competition, but I just don't think the East has ever been good. So the idea that you use the East as weak for LeBron,
It's
Well, it was
early in his career.
It was more about his battle to get through the Celtics and the Pistons, who
LeBron had that too.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah, I know.
LeBron got
There
through
was
the
a big
Pistons
3 in
when he was
Boston.
22.
Yeah, and the Pistons were a dominant championship team.
I just think it's like I watched that guy play Kendall Gill in the Nets. I watched him play Mookie Blaylock and look, that doesn't take away his mystique and his greatness. It just I watched the Hornets play him.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Hornets have been in the playoffs since Michael Jordan left. So I find that whole argument stupid. I really think it's absolutely legitimately stupid.
I tend to agree with you. A lot of this is splitting hairs. Final thoughts. We want one more segment. Final thoughts
We can do
segment.
final thoughts,
We'll
yeah.
recap all of it. Play Kumbaya. Who has the best top 10? We'll revisit all of our top 10s next on the Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
Just keep trying, never give up. That's one of the things that's gonna make everything change. Just keep going out there, giving you 100%, and just wait for something to happen.
That is Juan Soto of the Mets trying to explain their 1-9 funk in a week and a half. They went from the best record in all of baseball to 4th in the National League, and they're now a couple of games behind the Phillies. The Mets stinking it up 1-9 in their last 10. When was the last time you had your drain cleared? Well, here's a deal you need to take advantage right now. Three Mountains offering a drain clear for just $59. Book your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com. That's threemountainshomservices.com. They make home services delightful.
Hey, it's Suk, and for many of
Langdon Farms, not really, but kind of. Fan Golf Classic. I've already had 7 transfusions and 4 hole-in-ones. I'm having a great time. Hopefully you're streaming along live on YouTube.
Funny play this to him right now, wouldn't it? What an awful top 10.
This top 10 sucks.
Well, I'm still here in the studio running this, so I can.
That's true. You're
get
still
a
here.
Phone call.
Yeah,
I got to
we'll
figure out what to do for another hour.
We'll see you in a matter of moments, Swagard. We look forward to seeing you out at Langdon Farms. Swag, do you have thoughts on my top 10?
The Oscar really caught me by surprise.
I wanted to have an old flair in there. I didn't want to go all modern era. I had to have one older flair.
And
I don't know, to be fair, I don't know a lot about Cincinnati Royals basketball, whatever the hell they were. 60s to 60s. Like, did he play with studs? I wasn't diving into team rosters.
Well,
I mean,
the league was only, I
not
don't
that
know,
many teams.
14, 15, 16 teams.
Dominated by one team in the 1960s.
And one team. So there was that. And no, I think we've all.
Iverson at 10 is a bit of a hot take.
It's a hot take. I'll give you that.
Yeah, AI.
It's hot takey.
But AI was his own thing, and so where I was looking at, okay, did you carve your own lane in the NBA? And he brought back the little guy.
Yeah, he did.
He did. He's 6 foot, man.
If that,
yeah. Be a 30-point scorer in the NBA, and not a dominant shooter too. It's one thing to just roll him around the 3-point line. He had to attack.
No. He was attacking and pulling up in the mid-range. Yeah. I mean, imagine if DeMar DeRozan or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was his size.
Yeah.
And he's putting up the numbers that they're putting up. So no, I think what's interesting is they're more a reflection on each one of us and what we truly value watching the NBA.
Yeah.
And what we think, how we think greatness is defined. And so when people get outraged, that they will, that so-and-so's, okay, ask yourself this before you tell us we're stupid. Why is it that you think we're so grossly
what's
out of
the
whack?
reason who should be ahead of somebody else?
What have we glossed over in having so-and-so ranked ahead or behind so-and-so?
I think the tough thing for me was the eras.
The eras are so difficult.
And you stunned me having Oscar. I didn't think you'd have anybody prior to 1979, to be honest with you.
I have a hard time with bigs from that era. I think Bill Russell is an unbelievable player. You can't tell the history of the league without him. I also think he was a 6'10" guy that it's so hard to compare, but like those guys, they're all over the place in the NBA. Like that's an undersized center now in the NBA.
I know.
And it's
I think the tough thing though for me is like Bill could probably be on. He should be on the list, right? If you're doing like an all-time,
if your accomplishments are a big
get rid
part
of your
of it,
eras thing, right? Bill's on that list. Bill took on Wilt.
He did.
He did.
And look, Bill's team was better,
no doubt.
But Wilt had Jerry West. Jerry West was a certified bucket. Like. There are people that if you listen to them talk about that finals, and some of this is always mystique and, a revision of the history because you want it to be a little greater than when you're in the moment, right? But there are people that, like, legitimately, Wilt's numbers were good, but you could kind of feel Bill just being the better competitor and defensive juggernaut.
He was too busy thinking about women, man. He didn't have the killer instinct.
Was he
the non-killer instinct guy of the 1960s?
That's why he finished his career as a Harlem Globetrotter.
That's right. He's having fun.
He's thinking about killing some chicks off the court.
Yes, he is.
Laying that pipe.
Yes,
but, mine's probably just void of having any real history of the league before 1979. Like, not having Dr. J on that list.
Dr. J was a hard one.
It kind of killed me.
Well,
I can't tell the story without him.
I excluded his ABA stuff or did it,
that's the other
with
part
college.
of it. It's challenging.
If we're just focusing on the NBA.
He got through the finals in one of those years in the 80s, which at that point it was 2 teams. Like, for him to be able to do that, was it 83?
Yeah, they got there. Well, they got there in 1980 and lost to the Lakers, and then they won it in 83.
Yeah.
And that team was dominant, but by then he had Moses Malone and Mo Cheeks and Andrew Toney and like
that was right before they got Barkley.
That team was stacked.
Yeah.
And
no Wilt, no Bill, no Dr. J, no O. Like I don't know, man. You can totally nitpick
well, that's
everything.
why when the NBA, I mean, they did their 50 and their 75th anniversary teams. What was the 75th? Just a few years ago, right?
Yeah, just a couple years ago.
The ridiculous thing on that is they didn't even get that right. Like, I'm sorry. You're doing a 75 list. We're not doing that, obviously.
No.
Like, Dwight Howard's on that list. He won 3 depoys. He took a team to the finals from Orlando. Like, I don't know.
Damian Lillard, top 75 player of all time.
And look, yeah, sure, you could make that argument. Klay Thompson and Dwight Howard aren't?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. The hardest one I had with guys like Steph and Kobe were challenging to leave off the top 10. There's no doubt. The hang up for me with Steph was on half of their championships, he wasn't their best player. And if team success is a
but
big part of
was
that,
he like in the finals? He might not have been their best player in every finals.
I would. If
but-
you were drafting a fantasy team, would you take that Kevin Durant version or that Steph Curry? They're different, and you can.
Well, they're different, but
he
the
beat
thing
the
I
Kevin
would
Durant to me was the better player.
His
thing
team
I
beat
would
the Kevin Durant version. That's why Kevin Durant joined his
Well,
team.
he was on the better
exactly.
team. That's part of the reason he
That's
won.
true.
But I think it was still, when you were devising your defensive game plan, you had to account for Steph first. Even with Durant and all of that.
I think he's right.
Because Steph, the thing that separated
He
Steph
moves.
from other, he moves without the basketball,
Yeah.
and he'll set screens, and he will pull defense, and he will just completely, pull your defense and stretch it in places where you weren't expecting. And then he is a very good passer.
Yeah.
He doesn't have as many assists because the offense is designed to, if he gets open, he's shooting. That's the whole point. And only when he's not open or a double team comes is he getting rid of it. But I still think even with Durant, I think defenses had to focus on him first because he could tear apart the defense. Durant would just go one-on-one and rise up and shoot out of you. There wasn't anything you could do. It's like, all right, I just need somebody who's long enough to try to contest the shot and hope he misses.
I won't disagree that, like, when they needed a bucket at the end, Durant tended to get it in the Golden State era. And Steph certainly, like, he had some moments in the finals where they're like, all right, dude. But everything leading into the finals is Steph-driven. Part of the KD-Steph thing is interesting because post-Warriors, what have I learned? Steph's team's still winning. They won a chip. He was the finals MVP. KD's teams are largely non-trustworthy, toxic, and then they break up after 2 years.
That's part of it for me, though. That's
tough for
challenging.
me.
It's like
one keeps winning. And
team success for me is a hard thing to quantify.
It really is a hard thing. Yes,
like,
I'll give you that.
If you paired Steph Curry up with somebody who refused to take the COVID vaccine and couldn't play in NBA games and then went anti-Semitic on social media, is he as reliable as a winner? And part of that is on KD for choosing to team up with that guy. That was his fault.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he went fat bodysuit with James Harden. But I don't put the failures. And I'm an anti.
What about Phoenix?
Yeah, to me, it's not. Kevin Durant averaged 30 a game this year. Like, he's still a
he's
very
a bucket.
high-level player.
I know, but there's a part for me, and I think you're right. This is so.
Like, Steph got one more. There's no doubt about it, and that will be the calling card for him.
Yeah.
And maybe Kevin Durant never gets one. He's not done yet. Maybe San Antonio wins one. I don't know.
Right.
But I have a really hard time with team success in the NBA. It's a very hard thing for me to quantify.
I don't disagree, but I just think there's some guys. It's a bit of the Jordan or whatever. It's kind of an eyeball test, right? It's an opinion and it's a feel, but. He did average 30. He had a good year for himself, Kevin Durant. That was toxic, and I can't imagine you are one of the top two faces of a franchise, and it's that toxic, and you have zero play into that.
Sure, that's part of it.
And he's doing these. He does interviews. He's on Twitter all the time. Like, he's a tough one. He's probably deserving of being top 10 most talented players of all time. But I don't know. I feel like Golden State is far more stable and consistent. And whether that's full Steph, 60% Steph, I don't know what the percentages would be. But like Kevin Durant so far, it's just been,
Yeah, it's not been good since he left.
No.
Not been good since he left. Well, that will do it, folks. That's it. That's
There
the
you
end
go.
of our show.
leave it to us to work on a day off.
Yeah, this is a great idea.
We
Whose dumb
decided.
idea was
Sorry.
this?
I hope you enjoyed breakfast.
The Reggie was good.
He paid for us to do content
He
for the
did.
best stuff.
How much did that sandwich cost? What was it cost that sandwich?
$15.
$15?
$16.50.
Yeah.
I'm here about an hour and a half later, so I'm making about $8
That's
an
about
hour.
what
That's
I
not
paid
bad.
for your burrito a couple
That's about
weeks
what I
ago,
make
so
in
we're
general.
square.
Yeah. So the Brandman's over here. He's going to give us a big raise for this extra
He
hard
loves
work
this free
for the
content
Fan
right
Dog
here.
Classic, baby. That will do it for us. Hope you're
Who's your goat, Dusty? Who's your goat?
Jordan.
Oh, he said LeBron. That's crazy.
Wow, he said LeBron
yeah,
too.
Dusty Hara. LeBron
He said
James.
LeBron too.
Yeah,
Wow,
it's nuts.
Wild stuff.
I know.
Well, hope we see you out at the Fan Golf Classic. We're clearly live at Langdon Farms right now, having a great time. So hope you stop by. A little bit more to the show to come. That will do it for this top 10 edition of Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, Blazers jumping into the deep end of the NBA offseason waters, making a deal, according to ESPN. Shams Charania sending Anthony Simons to the Boston Celtics along with 2 second-round draft picks in exchange for Drew Holiday, who will be a Blazer for a second time. And I think fans, hopefully this time, will get to see him play in a Portland uniform for the first time. He was part of the Damian Lillard deal, but never played in Portland. He's got 2 years, $72 million left on his current contract. That move now frees up the logjam in the backcourt. Scoot Henderson is the incumbent at point guard. We'll see what Portland does, still holding the number 11 pick in tomorrow night's NBA draft. Elsewhere around the NBA, ESPN reports the Mavericks and center Daniel Gafford have agreed on a 3-year, $60 million contract extension, while Chris Middleton has reportedly exercised his $33.3 million player option for next season with the Wizards. Cal Raleigh hit his league-leading 32nd home run in Minnesota Monday, capping off the Mariners' 11-2 rout to open up a 4-game series against the Twins. Game 2 coming up this afternoon, 4:40 first pitch on Root Sports. And the University of Oregon Board of Trustees has approved a 3-year contract extension for athletic director Rob Mullins. That'll keep him in Eugene through 2033. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt, missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
More, please. Golf in the Northwest with Jason Swigard is back. Saturdays at 8 a.m. before the Sinner and the Saint on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. In this wide world of sports, some stories can slip through the cracks.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
Pelican Brewing presents The Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague hit the big stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker on The Fan is poured by Pelican Brewing. Experience your hops differently with Hard Hops Blackberry, hop-infused hard seltzers.
Yeah, Swag here, actually live in the Fan studios. Timing is everything in life, and with the Fan Golf Classic going on out there, and the Blazers deciding to make a move late on Monday night, we certainly can't go without addressing that. We'll have a little bit more best of coming up. We wanted to reprise a few of the guests that we had regarding tomorrow's NBA draft and who the Blazers are looking at. But Pelican Brewing Company does present today's Daily Ticker, and Pelican invites you to take a beach break at one of their 4 coastal locations: Cannon Beach, Tillamook, Pacific City, and Lincoln City. Pelican Brewing Company, born at the beach today. They're born at the 16th hole out at Langdon Farms. You can stop by and say hi to our friends at Pelican if you are headed out playing in the 11th Annual Fan Golf Classic. And I know Dirt and Sprague, we were texting back and forth. Do we do something? Do we do an hour? How are we doing this? But unfortunately, this was on the calendar 11 months ago. And the trade happened a little bit later than we could pivot the big Titanic that is 1080 The Fan. Nonetheless, if you haven't heard, just waking up, living under a rock, we're detained somewhere. The Trailblazers have sent Anthony Simons to the Boston Celtics after 7 years here in Portland for Drew Holiday, who will have a second go-around with the Blazers. He was traded from the Bucks to Portland in the Damian Lillard deal, then was sent on to the Celtics. He was a part of their championship season before last. He obviously helped Giannis get his championship with the Bucks. Started out with the 76ers, then went to the Pelicans. All of his moves have been by trade in his career after being drafted originally by Philadelphia. He averaged 11 points, 4 assists this past season, but he was limited due to injury issues at the age of 35. He still has 2 years and $72 million left on his contract, plus an option. And he could be, let me get that, and a player option in 2027. So it's $30 million this year, $32.4 million, then 34.6. That's coming year, 32.4 million, then 34.6. next year, and then a $37.2 million player option in 2027. So the question now most people are going with or have in their minds regarding the Blazers is, all right, does that mean Scoot is the point guard next season? Are they going to make the 11th pick? A couple of the names that had been thrown around as likely potential picks for Portland are both point guards in Yegor Demin out of BYU or a Kasparis Yakachonis out of Illinois, both longer, bigger point guards. Or is this simply the first in a series of moves to reshape the roster completely, as some believe? Now, the bigger question is there are bloated contracts that this team would love to move, but the question is there a market for a DeAndre Ayton? Is there a market for Jeremy Grant to clear up and truly let all of the young players coming in take advantage of, start to gel together the way that we saw some of them do last season? And that's really what the next 24, 48 hours, as we heard a number of NBA pundits, Brian Windhorst among others, saying they expect a frenzy to be going down both before and after. We saw Kevin Durant go to the Rockets for a seemingly paltry package. I don't think Houston gave up anybody that they were counting on for the immediate and distant future. So Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick, will be interesting to see what Phoenix does there. The latest mock that ESPN put out now has Carter Bryant of Arizona falling to the Blazers at 11. That would make me extremely happy if anybody has been listening to the station in this month since we started delving into the draft. He is a 3-and-D guy. You would love to see him under the tutelage of a Drew Holiday who comes in at 35. You hope he still has enough in the tank to deliver some things on the floor, but I think he's the perfect guy that Chauncey Billups and Joe Cronin would want in the locker room to explain to everybody what it takes to win championships, having done so on two different teams in recent history, and how to go about with the mentality, the habits that you have to have develop, the intensity and the urgency you have to be able to maintain throughout the regular season to put yourself in a good position in the playoffs, all of those sorts of things. Now, Boston will save $40 million in tax savings for next year, and they get below the second apron. For Portland, we'll see. I'm assuming they're saying they're on the hook for this, so you would hope that they have some more moves to make, moving some other big contracts along the way. They do move Simons, but he was going into the last year of his deal at $27.7 million. He'll be an unrestricted free agent and is extension eligible. So it'll be interesting to see what the Celtics do, knowing Jason Tatum is out. They needed somebody to be another scorer, another three-point shooter. Seems to fit more with what they have going on than he did here with what the Blazers were trying to do with Shaedon and with Scoot and with Denny Avdia starting to move the ball. Donovan Clingan, you hope that he's well into his offseason preparation, that he can be consistently 25 to 30 minutes every game for you, not getting into foul trouble, giving you double-digit rebounds, blocking 2 or 3 shots, but being a facilitator at the offensive end, screening, passing out of the high post, and then diving, getting a lot of his points on pick and rolls and offensive rebounds. And so it still begs the question, though, who will the number one guy for the Blazers be in the next couple of years? Where will that superstar emerge from to give belief that they are truly capable of starting the uptick in the next 2 to 3 years? Because as we all know, Blazer fans are getting antsy about seemingly, rearranging the furniture constantly, but not updating the furniture. So it's a piece. It's interesting. It does relieve the logjam in the backcourt. And so now it seems that it will be Scoot moving forward to take this team into the upcoming season. Will they draft another point guard behind him? or will they really give it to Scoot, look to take the best available player at 11 if they hold on to that draft pick, or is there another move coming? I appreciate everybody that's been – I've had the YouTube chat up. We understand timing sucks today. There's nothing we could do about it at this point. Trust me, there was discussions. We thought about doing it, but it just didn't work out. So there you go. We will certainly be armed and ready to go tomorrow with everybody getting ready for the draft. What does this mean? Hopefully to gather a little bit more intelligence about the move itself, what it signifies, what it means. Everybody will be chomping at the bit for Wednesday. For those of you out there, headed out there, maybe you're in the afternoon round out at Langdon Farms. Can't wait to get out there when I'm done here and see you. We're going to finish out the hour. We had some reporters on from BYU as well as Illinois, a couple of the names we mentioned, Yegor Demin, as well as Kasparis Yakachonis. So we're going to reprise those for you here over the final hour. And then ESPN's Jeremy Wu, their NBA draft expert, joined us not long ago assessing the entire draft. And we'll start with that when we come back. Just what's available for Portland at 11. How does it fit in moving forward with them? So there is the Daily Ticker, once again brought to you by Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. If you're going out to Langdon Farms, they're on the 16th hole. We'll come back. Jeremy Wu joined us last week talking about the NBA draft, what is likely available in that 11th spot, and should Blazer fans be excited about adding a piece there as we continue on this best of show. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Not necessarily the way I'm looking at it. I mean, I think Ace Bailey is someone who is a big variable in how this draft is going to go. I don't think that he will fall remarkably far. He may not go 3 or 4, but I don't think I would be surprised if he went 10 or 11. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But I think guys like Bailey and Fears and Trey Johnson, Knipple and Molly Watts, like those guys are probably gone by 11, right? But the next group, Yakachonis, Derek Queen, Carter Bryant, those type of guys are probably, Yegor Demin, like some of those guys will be there at 11. Just process of elimination, some of them have to be, right? So I think it's not a bad spot in terms of knowing what you're working with.
Interesting. We're talking with Jeremy Wu, NBA draft analyst on Twitter at Jeremy Wu. Go give him a follow there. He's also a writer for ESPN. Latest mock-up with Jonathan Gavoni about where he thinks guys will go. And looking at that mock, you mentioned Yakachonis. That's who you have Portland taking. I'm curious, just what about his game stands out to you as you look at him? And then, we also have a little bit of PTSD out here, Jeremy, where we're taking a lot of guards in top 10 picks, man. And I know this isn't a top 10 pick, but we got a lot of guards on our roster. Are they all going to be here? He is another point guard. So is there any concern about the fit, or should that be, not even a consideration for Portland, considering where they're at and just who's the most talented player available?
Yeah, well, what I like about him as a fit is I think what he brings to the table is something. It's a different skill set, maybe than some of the other guards that Portland has. So, it's one thing to have several players who play similar positions, but the skill set overlap is sort of what I'm looking at more when I'm thinking about this. And I live in Chicago, so I saw Illinois play a ton, so I probably have seen him more than anybody else, unfortunately. No, he's a very tough-minded, creative player. I think he has more than what he's shown in Illinois. He had a huge role there, and I think did pretty well with it. But back to my point, I mean, just I like the unselfishness that he brings. I think if you look at who's on the guards that Portland has, these guys are more scoring oriented, right? Like, Anthony Simons is really a scorer by nature. Sharp is really a scorer. Scoot is still more of, I think, a scorer than a playmaker. And, I don't know what, how the front office is going to move forward in terms of who stays and, what they decide. But I do think having a guy with the size that Yakachonis has, the unselfishness, and he can play both guard spots, right? He's big enough. He's 6'6". So I think that those type of players are sort of malleable and kind of easy to slot in. And I think he's a winning player. So I don't think it would be a bad fit.
We had a BYU guy on yesterday to talk about Yegor, and we had asked him straight up because he thinks Yegor's are just like a solidified point guard with amazing vision. Asked him about off-ball, wasn't as confident about the off-ball, thinks he's a really traditional point guard in that sense. How is Yakachonis? Like, if we put him in a lineup and we've got a Scoot out there, how do you envision that? Like, how does that work in your mind with him coming into Portland?
Yeah. I don't think that would be too big of a concern. I mean, I trust Kasparis, his shooting a little bit more than Yegor, just as a point of comparison. So, I think, second side playmaking. Most teams right now are rolling out multiple playmakers. I mean, the Pacers right now, a lot of time they have Halliburton and Nembhard out there together, right? Like OKC often, Shea and Williams, they have 2 or 3 guys in the court who can initiate the play, right? And that's kind of the way a lot of teams are playing right now. So, again, the size factor helps in the case of Yakachonis, right? Where at least, he's big enough to maybe, slow down a bigger player. At least it gives you more presence of size on the floor. Like that all matters. So I could see that working.
You work with a guy that used to work with a assistant general manager of the Blazers. I'm just curious, Mike Schmitz have a type when you think about mocking and you have an idea of certain teams and people making decisions that are important? Like, Mike Schmitz reveals he kind of has a type and Yakachonis fits the type?
I mean, I have no direct insight into what Mike is thinking, although I'm sure it's smart thoughts. Yeah. I mean, I could see it.
I want to ask you about a couple other guys because, as you mentioned, first 6, 7 picks, we kind of know who they're going to be. At least we just don't know exactly where they're all going to go. And then after that, it's a throw a dart at the board and let's see what sticks, right? And we've already listed a couple of names here. Carter Bryant is another one that has come up a lot for Blazer fans about his size, his athleticism. I think you and Gavoni both had him going 14 to San Antonio, so it's right there in that range at 11 where Portland will be picking. What do you make of him, his strengths and weaknesses, and would 11 be a reach in your mind for Carter Bryant?
No, I think I would guess he's in play, as they have these discussions there. Carter Bryant, I think, has two really good things going for him. Season one, just, the skill set. Sort of, I know 3-and-D is kind of cliche, but that's more or less like what he does. I think teams are optimistic about the shooting. I think his passing and overall feel is like maybe a little underrated. And defensively, has a good defensive mindset. But the other thing is he has an amazing frame, right? So it's not just it's a 3-and-D guy, but here's a 3-and-D guy who could legitimately, maybe defend 2, 3, and 4, right? Because he's very strong and agile and has room to kind of keep improving. But like you see him in person, it's like, okay, like I get it, right? He looks like an NBA player. So those two things together, I think, bode well for him. And yeah, he's not a guy who's gonna create offense, but I think he's a guy who's going to be able to knock down a shot, add versatility defensively in terms of matchups, and that's kind of the type of player that's valuable anywhere, right? And in this class, there aren't that many guys like that, so I think he's benefited from that as well.
Is there somebody in that range, Portland's range, that maybe you're not as high on as the other names we've already mentioned?
I mean, I don't know if I would love it's not that I'm not as high. It's just like I don't know if I would love like the Derek Queen fit there. Like I don't know if that makes total sense. Like I think with Klingon, I think you'd want to have a second more agile guy on the floor. I think you wouldn't want to have two sort of bigger, slower guys. So I don't know if I'd love that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that. I think in that range, Johan Berenger is a French. French defensive-minded center, really interesting young player. But again, with Klingon in place, I don't think you double down on the center at 11. So, yeah. But beyond that, I think it's kind of interesting because, like I said, these guys are all kind of different flavors, right? Like they're all, this group talented, but they have different skills. So it's just kind of, what they feel directionally with the roster, what they want to do, and but none of these guys I think really duplicate what they have necessarily either. So it'll be very, it's a team it's a little hard to peg at this early.
Well, I mean, on that point, Jeremy, I wanted to ask you on that because you mentioned some of the fit stuff. That's always an interesting debate I feel like we have every year going into the draft, especially for teams in Portland's position and kind of where they're at, of just what percentage breakdown is it just this guy's the best player available and we got to take him, and what percentage of it is this guy fits a need that we have, or we already have Klingon, or we already have guards, so we don't need necessarily that on our roster. Like, as you did from a philosophical standpoint, how would you view that?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I think it depends. It's funny, like we always talk about, do they need this? But a lot of that is just also internal evaluation, right? Like, it's not so much necessarily, do we need another guard, but it's like, is this guard better than the guards we have? Right? Like, is he better than what we have? And I think that's usually the bigger question. And like when I'm looking at the mock draft, I am trying to also ask that question, right? Like, put yourself in the shoes of the team. Like, is it an upgrade, right? And it's okay to load up at certain positions if you think it's an upgrade. Is Portland far enough along in what they're doing to say, we need this specific role and we have to address it to the draft? Like, maybe not. But also, like, again, you don't want to cannibalize the minutes for a guy who you believe in. So I think what they do, to some extent, will also be a referendum on what's already on the roster, right? I mean, I think Kamara has been a good find. Like, Avdia had a really good season. Like, they made some good steps last year. So I'm genuinely curious what they feel is the way to go.
I know you cover a lot of pre-draft stuff. You go to the Combine. You're in Chicago. I'm just curious to get your thoughts of what you wrote or thought about these two guys versus what you've seen so far early in their careers, Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson. Obviously, there have been players in their own drafts that have performed better than them so far, but your thoughts on what you thought of Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson going into their respective drafts versus what you've actually seen from them here in Portland so far?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think Sharp was always a tricky eval. Like that year was an interesting test case just because he didn't play at all at Kentucky, right? I'm sure you remember. He ended up in the draft anyway because people were intrigued by him. So I think to get to where he is now, I mean, I'm not going to act like I watch every single Portland game, so don't act like it. I'm expert on exactly how these guys are today, right? But I think the progress he's made is probably not bad considering the level of experience that he had. He takes a little bit of time. He's been able to play through it. Certainly, you'd like the 3-point shooting to be better, right? I'm not looking at these percentages like you'd like this to tick up, but I think it's sort of what you expected, right? I mean, a guy who was gonna take time, and often got wing scorers just take time to kind of adjust to the speed of the NBA, make the right reads, and just learn to play team basketball. Because a lot of these guys, coming from lower levels, like aren't asked to play roles, so that's a learning process. Scoot is someone who I saw a lot more of with G League Ignite. I think someone who obviously I think there were probably higher expectations than what he's necessarily shown the first 2 seasons, but I think point guards in particular can take a while, and it's kind of the same thing, right? Where maybe he benefits from if they get another ball handler and he doesn't have to be the full-time lead guard, right? Like I think he is still more of a scorer by nature. But yeah, I mean, I think there's more in there. I think there was a reason, for the optimism coming in, and I would hesitate to write him off. But also, it definitely has been slow, and I'm sure it hasn't been what everybody hoped for either.
Jeremy Woo, ESPN NBA draft expert insider there with the guys last week. And after last night's trade, if nothing else happens at point guard, it will be Scoot's show to run this upcoming season. However, now the question is, will they take a point guard with the number 11 pick if Portland holds on? We got deep backgrounds into 2 potential draft picks, Yegor Demon and Kasparis Yakachonis. We talk next, reprise our conversation with Ben Bagley of BYU TV on Yegor Demon as we continue on. It's Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, Drew Holiday, a Trailblazer once again, and this time he's likely to play his first game in a Portland uniform. Shams Charania reporting the Blazers have will send Anthony Simons and a pair of second-round picks to Boston in exchange for the 35-year-old 3-and-D player who has 2 years left on his deal, $72 million overall. The move frees up the logjam in the backcourt. Scoot Henderson, the incumbent at point guard now, as Portland holds the number 11 pick in tomorrow night's NBA draft. Elsewhere around the NBA, ESPN reporting the Mavericks and center Daniel Gafford agreeing on a 3-year, $60 million contract extension, while Chris Middleton has reportedly exercised his $33.3 million player option for next season with the Wizards. Cal Raleigh hit another home run, 4th straight game. He leads the all of major leagues with 32 dingers. That capped off a Mariners 11-2 rout of the Twins as they began a 4-game series in Minnesota. Game 2 this afternoon, 4:40 on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swag from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt, missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Fan is live The Fan.
Swag back here in the studios as everybody else out at Langdon Farms, the 11th annual Fan Golf Classic off and running on a gorgeous morning. Hopefully we'll see you out there soon as we wrap up the 3 hours. And we want to go in with the NBA draft tomorrow and Ant being traded. Scoot, now the incumbent point guard. Does that open things up for the Blazers to take a point guard if they keep the number 11 pick? One of the names that has surfaced is Yegor Demon out of BYU. And the guys had a chat with Ben Begley of BYU TV. First of all, making sure we knew how to understood how to pronounce his name.
He is a freak as far as you mentioned. He's 6'9", but he's a point guard. This guy has the best passing skills in the NBA draft this year at 6'9". He's the Russian version of what Magic Johnson was in the 80s. His court vision is amazing. It was kind of interesting watching him play here at BYU last year. I covered the NBA with Utah Jazz for 15 years, way back when. And just his court vision was such that, like, he saw stuff that his teammates didn't see. And it resulted in a lot of turnovers early on as they were getting used to what he was seeing that they weren't realizing, because he'd throw the ball and they'd either have their head turned or weren't quite getting to the spot that he saw open up. And so early in the season, it took a lot of kind of growth process of him getting used to his teammates and his teammates getting used to his vision. But he sees things on the court and is able to make the passes that you don't expect a 19-year-old to make at 6'9". Now, the downside of that, at least at the BYU and the college level, is sometimes he was a little overconfident in what he saw. And so not every turnover he created this season was based off of making a pass his teammate didn't see was there. Some of it was making a pass that he may have thought was there but wasn't actually there. But those weren't he made more spectacular passes and plays with his passing ability than he did errors on that end.
He's very young. What do we know about his background? You say he sounds like he's very polished. Obviously, the way that basketball operates in other countries very different than what we have in America. What is the background of Yegor and how he became what you already claim is kind of a Magic Johnson-esque type player with passing at that kind of size? What's his background?
Yeah, just court vision with the size. I'm not comparing him to Magic Johnson.
Sure,
I love his NBA camps, Magic Johnson. Whoa, Portland Trailblazers fans are going crazy. Yeah, we want him. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the vision's there.
Yes.
His background, obviously coming out of Russia, he left Russia at a very young age, like 14 years old to go play, 14, 15 years old to go play pro basketball in Spain with Real Madrid. Played a few years pro with Real Madrid at their different levels, and then decided he wanted to get a college experience. And Kevin Young, who took over BYU last year from the Phoenix Suns, hadn't heard of him, and some of the guys that Kevin brought with him had heard of him, and he kind of reached out, and they got connected, and he ended up here at BYU for a year, and really. And that's one thing that no matter where this kid goes in the NBA, and I think for Portland, especially in a market like Portland, which is a lot like Salt Lake, which is a small market, and your fans fall in love with these guys because it is it's the only show in town. And Yegor is a guy who fans will absolutely love. His personality, kind of the way he goes about life. He really embraced the BYU and the Provo community when he was here. And just fans fell in love with him, and he's a guy who kind of thrives off of that. So his background is he's played professional at the Real Madrid level. He played high level basketball, helping lead the Cougars into a Sweet 16 run last year. I think this is a guy that any team in the lottery is going to really enjoy getting their hands on.
Well, I know this is always a tough thing to answer. We're talking with Ben Bagley, by the way, BYU TV at Ben Bags on Twitter about Yegor Demon, who the Blazers might be taking with the 11th overall pick. It's such an inaccurate science, and nobody has any clue, right? There's been great players drafted 11th overall. The guy who's going to win the MVP or already won the MVP this year in the NBA was 11th overall pick, and other guys who have been forgotten and turned into nothing. When you look at him, you mentioned the strengths and weaknesses that he's bringing to the table. I think the hard thing that some Blazer fans might have is, they took a big step this past season to the chagrin of some who wanted a higher draft pick and a better lottery odds. But they took a step, and it's like, well, now we're kind of encroaching on this. Are you pushing for a play-in situation? Could you be a playoff team in the next year or two? How many years do you think it takes? I mean, he's 19, just turned 19 years old in March. I think he's going to be 19 for the majority of his rookie season. How long until you see him being an impact NBA player based on the traits that he's bringing to the table?
That's a great question, and if I had that answer, I would probably be working in a front office someplace. It's tough to say. I think he's ready to come in. Having covered the league for a while, I think he can come in his rookie season and give you 8 to 15 really productive minutes. Will his numbers probably blow you away? No. But if he gets in that back end of an 8-man rotation as a 19-year-old rookie, as kind of a late lottery pick, that's a win. I mean, you guys cover it with the Blazers. The NBA draft is such a crapshoot, and you get guys who are high lottery picks who are out of the league in 2 years, and those guys are more abundant than the guys that get in and become NBA All-Stars or All-Pros. So when you get to the back half of the lottery, it is. I mean, you get some nuggets, but there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't translate at times. But having had the experience at a pro level, granted Real Madrid, not an NBA level, I think kind of gives him a leg up there. And I think his size is a great asset, his length at 6'9", playing a guard position with his being able to ball handle and pass. I think that kind of gives him a leg up to where he's a kid who's going to translate. I think I've seen a lot of NBA comps of Josh Giddey, and I was just looking at Josh Giddey's stats because I'm just like, I don't know if I like that. I look at his stats, and Giddey's averaging 15 points a game, 8 rebounds, 7 assists at 47% shooting. I mean, I think Yeager could do that. I think he could do that eventually in 3 years. And if he can do that in 3 years and you're getting him there in the 10 to 14 pick in the NBA draft, that's a win.
You've mentioned point guard-esque. I want to ask kind of about his season at BYU. The fan thing, absolutely. They love him. The staff sounds like they loved him. They had a nice season as a program. Positionally, though, you kind of struck something with me. Point guard. You keep saying point guard. He's got passing ability, right, with that kind of size.
Yep.
How is he off ball versus, do you think in the NBA he's more of a point guard traditionally, or is he a combo guy because he knows how to play basketball the way they play in Spain?
I think he can be a combo guy, but I think he is a point guard. I really do think he's a point guard. BYU ran their offense through him. They had Dallin Hall here, who was a 2-year starter at point guard, and Yeager came in and took that spot, and Dallin Hall backed up Yeager at the point for the majority, if not all, the season. He is a point guard in a 6'9" body, and that's what makes him special. As far as him playing a combo, sure he could, but the biggest question with Yeager coming into the NBA draft is his consistency in shooting. So if you're gonna take away his biggest strength, which is the court vision passing, and you're gonna kind of lean into kind of the weakness of shooting, he shot 41% last year in college. And that was the question going in the draft combine. And all of a sudden, all these videos come out. Oh, he hit 13 threes in a row, and he's improved his shooting against air. So, like, what does that really tell you? You don't know. But, I mean, we spoke to Yeager a couple of weeks ago on our show, and he's like, the focus has been, I'm going to be more consistent shooter. I'm going to be a better shooter. That's one of his big focuses going into the draft. And I think getting some coaching, that shooting can improve. But I don't know why, if you're an NBA team and you're drafting this kid for what he's great at, which is the court vision and the passing, I don't know why you would kind of like, okay, let's make him a combo guard and take half of the best part of his game away from him.
There you go. Ben Bagley, BYU TV on Yeager Demon. We'll come back. What if it's Kasparis Yakachonis of Illinois? We'll find out more about him as we continue on here at Sturt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Time is ticking away.
Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Well, it's actually Swag here in the studio for Dirt and Sprague, who are out at Langdon Farms enjoying the party. It's the 11th annual Fan Golf Classic. I'll be out there joining things soon. But we wrap things up. Will Kasparas Yakachonis of Illinois possibly be the backup point guard for the Blazers after the draft tomorrow? After Ant got traded, it's Scoot's job now. We had Scott Ritchie, who covered Illinois basketball for the Champaign-Urbana Gazette-Times, join us recently for a full deep dive on Yakachonis.
What we know is he's a really talented 18-year-old point guard. And, through the course of his, one season at Illinois, I think we saw the highs and the lows of a really talented 18-year-old point guard, because he had stretches where he just dominated, was by far the best player on the court, and then he had some moments where it's like, okay, yeah, he's 18 and probably shouldn't have made that pass. Because he did struggle, towards the end of the season, and averaging 6 turnovers per game in 2 Big Ten tournament games and 2 NCAA tournament games. It's not great, but I don't think that overshadowed the overall season that he put together. Just his combination of size at 6'6" with his ability as a shooter and his basketball IQ and willingness to be a playmaker. I mean, I think is an intriguing package for NBA teams, and I'm curious to see where he will land in next week's draft.
Well, what's the biggest question mark for him at the next level to you? For somebody that watched him closely, followed him in the team season, what is the biggest question mark you have of if he's going to be successful? What's the area you say, how is this going to go?
Oh, there's probably like 3 areas I think will determine his success at the next level, and one is getting a handle on the turnovers, because I think he has really good vision, and is a good passer, but there's times where he made passes he shouldn't. Like, there might have been a window there, but was it the best idea to try that pass? Maybe not. I think cutting those down will just be maybe a matter of experience. I think another area is just maybe not a question mark, but just a determining aspect of his success in the NBA is how successful can he be as a shooter. He flashed kind of an intriguing step back from 3-point range that he hit some big shots with, but can he do it consistently? And then I think the biggest question for every young player going to the NBA is, how well can you defend? And I think he's got the size and the physicality at that guard spot to be a good defender. It's just a matter of, is his first step defensively going to be quick enough? And we'll see.
Interesting. Scott Ritchie is our guest covering Illinois for the Champaign News-Gazette at SR Ritchie on Twitter. You go give him a follow there. We're talking about Kasparas Yakachonis, who continues to get mocked to Portland with the 11th overall pick next week in the NBA draft. It's interesting, too, Scott, because we look at the Blazer roster right now. We got a lot of guards. We love drafting guards. We love picking up guards. Now, at least Kasparas is 6'5", so it's a bit of an outlier from some of the other guards we've had in years past. What do you make of his positional fit in the NBA? Is he a true combo guard from what you saw this past year? Can play off ball, can play on ball, maybe a little bit of 3 in a small lineup? Is he better with the ball in his hands? Like, what do you make of his positional fit at the next level?
I definitely think he's better with the ball in his hands, but he can play off the ball because Illinois played KJ and then Kylan Boswell together a lot, and that was 2 ball handlers and that spent time with the ball in their hands and spend some time playing off the ball, maybe as more of a shooter, but just his ability as a playmaker, I think you want the ball in his hands more often than not. But I think he can play some 2 and be a combo guard. I don't necessarily love him playing the 3 at the next level, just because I don't know that he'd be a great matchup there defensively against some of the longer, maybe more athletic 3s that you see in the NBA. But I think if you can play the 2 guard spots, I that'll be more than enough. And I think he can play both at a pretty high level.
What do we know about him off the court? Like, what was he like in his 1 year at Illinois? We did an interview on the Demon kid from BYU, and he was really likable, and he was great with fans. Like, what is Kasparas Giacochonis? What was he like for the program for the 1 year?
I mean, just kind of a terrifically nice kid. I mean, he was 18, but kind of quiet. Just, I think if he could have just lived in the gym, he would have been happy. He's just a basketball junkie. He likes, likes watching a ton of film, likes to just be in the gym. I think, moving on from maybe college and then just focusing totally on basketball, suits him. It's where he, I think, is most comfortable and where he wants to be. But, yeah, just super good kid. Fans loved him. And, yeah, I mean, I don't think there'll be absolutely no, off the court issues at all, ever. That'd be maybe the most stunning thing I would have ever heard.
What was his experience basketball prior to Illinois? Was he playing in a pro league overseas? What was the experience for him?
Yeah, so he's from Lithuania originally, but moved to Spain when he was 15 and started going through Barcelona's system at that point. He, by his third year there, so his last year before coming to Illinois, he was mostly playing on their second youth team. Got a couple stints, with Barcelona's top team playing in the EuroLeague, but got a chance to practice every day with guys like Ricky Rubio and Jabari Parker, and I think that part of his development was really key in just sort of forming who he is as a basketball player. Is he played with pros from 15, 16, 17. So that was really important for him. But yeah, he's represented Lithuania internationally on their various youth teams. So his experience is definitely primarily in Europe, but I think this one season of college basketball also helped. It just gave him maybe a look at a different style, different perspective, sort of maybe rounded out his game a little bit.
There goes Scott Ritchie of the Champaign Gazette News. That'll do it. The guys will be back fully loaded. NBA Draft Day, reacting to the Ant trade. But today, it's all about the Fan Golf Classic out at Langdon Farms. Hope to see you out there. Hope you enjoyed this. Colin is up next. That's it. Dirt Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Hola, amigos. Brad Evans here to help you